Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 9 of the Middle-Aged Mutant Show. My name is Ty, and as always, let me introduce my co-host. No-H, tell us what's good.
Well, I really thought you would switch to a video-only podcast because I stripped down and I got naked for this.
Lord.
I guess I'll put on my clothes again. Fine.
Thank you. We all appreciate that. We all appreciate that, No-H. Jeremy, how you doing this week?
You know, I'm a little upset. This is now multiple weeks in a row you've introduced me before Bodz. Bodz, this must drive you insane. I know you've been complaining to me off air about how much you hate the fact that you're not introduced second, how you should be second. You know you don't want to be one. But let's dive into that. Let's turn this into a psychoanalysis podcast. And Bodz, you're my first guest.
Okay. The reason why Bodz gets to be last is because I'm saving the best for last. So Bodz, go ahead and tell us what we actually talk about on this podcast.
Guys, we only talk about comics, movies, video games, etc. Emphasis on the etc. because sometimes it goes off into left field.
Yeah, we digress quite a bit. Yes, once again, Bodz, you have proved that you're my brother from another mutant mother. And let's jump on into the first topic of this show. You're guessing why this is a first time for everything. We got a question mark up here. That's because what is the meme of the week? Well, I'll tell you. There's a new action figure out, guys. I don't know if you've seen it out. It's the Glenn action figure from The Walking Dead. Yeah, I don't know if you guys are. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to find this one because apparently it's rare.
Heyo.
And
I should get
spoilers if you haven't seen it. You don't want it to be spoiled.
Nope.
From like 10 years ago at this point.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I haven't seen this one, so this was a new one for me. So I saw it and I was like, and it goes with. I was sitting there talking to my wife about it, and I was all, I should make a joke about like it being rare or something. And I was like, ew. My wife's like, that's not that funny.
I thought that may have something to do with his new movie that's on Netflix, Beef.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. I didn't think about that.
Anything to do with that.
It works on multiple levels.
Yeah, I hadn't seen. You gotta remember, guys. I've been out of the whole meme game for years. I'm on the internet, but I'm not really on the internet. I was playing video games. I wasn't doing this stuff. So, pardon the hell out of me.
The new memes.
Yeah, the new memes. Okay, and the next topic this week is actually me and No-H partake in the fist that is Razor, and I don't know how much you've been listening to him lately, No-H. I listen to him every time he puts out a video. So
I haven't caught whatever his newest thing is. I haven't watched it, but the ones I've watched, I have enjoyed quite a lot.
Yes, he is actually I wish I was as fluid as he is on his. Apparently he doesn't use a script. That is all. It's just bullet points, and he just looks at it, and then he lets the F-bombs flow along with the poetry at the same time. And so it's amazing to me how good he is at talking in real time. So this week I got noticed that he's putting out a comic book.
Interesting.
And it's called Ghost of the Badlands. And now it's a little bit pricey. I'm actually going to jump over to the browser right now. It's a little bit pricey if you want to get it. So it's $10 for the digital. It's $25 for a soft cover, $50 for a hard cover. And then they have, like, right now they're in the stretch goal category. So
it's like a Kickstarter.
It's a kick. It's just an Indiegogo.
Okay.
And he apparently like tore through his first goal of, I think it was 50. Yeah, 50,000. They're triple that now.
Wow.
50,000. Wow. And that was, awesome. And it's only been a couple of days this has been up. It's still got 3 days that it's been up. So he smashed that goal, and they're moving on to stretch goals, which is awesome. And I am fairly excited. It's a Western, which I love me some Western comics. Right now I'm reading a comic book that actually Razörfist had on his channel. He had suggested it was a bande dessinée, which bande dessinée is like French comic books and Franco-Belgian comic books. And he It was the Undertaker is what it's called, but it's not about like the American Undertaker. That joke was made during that video.
Oh well,
that joke was made during the video.
Anymore.
Yeah, no more. Yeah, I figured you guys wouldn't be interested anymore.
I'm out.
But it's really good.
Do y'all remember there was an Undertaker comic book?
There was. Yes, there was.
Based on the the WWE. I want to say F character at the time.
Yeah, one of the wrestling comic books. Yeah, I mean, we're such a fan. I, of course, got them at the time. But I'm interested in these new Razörfist comics because I didn't know he made anything.
Well, I think I told you. Well,
as someone I don't know who or what is Razörfist.
Okay, so Razörfist, he's like I would say he is a almost like pop culture slash political slash heavy metal YouTuber. He does.
He has sort of shock jock tendencies, but what he has to say is actually very poignant, and he's
very right wing.
Very right wing. Should know that. Know that going in, but he's actually very, very intelligent. I think he doesn't just spout out like just anything just to say it. There's references. He does to things that.
He does a lot of like video essays too about like the recent one he did was about like Lincoln and why it wasn't so great that he got us involved in the Civil War. He's done video essays on, he calls them metal mythos, and they're like long essays about like heavy metal bands that he's into. And then he does live streams every Friday of games that he wants to play. And he's been on like Steven Crowder, if I'm not mistaken, and the Sebastian Gorka show. I mean, he's gotten really popular as of late, and it's really good stuff. If it's your cup of tea, go out and check him out. I mean, I'm super right wing, so he was right up my alley. But
I didn't know he made a comic. That's always cool to see.
Yeah, he's already got two books out. He's got two books. One of them, I have both of them right here. They're called The Long Moonlight and Death Mask. And they're pulps because he's really into pulps. He always talks about like his favorite thing is the Shadow. He talks about him at length. He even has a other channel called The Shadowcast where he just talks about the Shadow. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can go listen to the serials with him and stuff, and he does reviews of everything. It's really, really, really well done. And then
a Shadow podcast.
Yeah, I think it's the only one on the YouTubes.
Yeah, he probably has the market cornered on Shadow podcast.
Yeah,
probably.
But he does a really good show there too. But the two books he has, they're like I said, they're like fantasy noir pulps is what he calls them, and they're about this thief that just kind of living his life, and he's only recently put out Death Mask, and I haven't read that one yet, but it's on my stack of reading material, and I'm just excited to see that he's doing a comic because I'd honestly rather read a comic that he's done. But if you want to still support his Indiegogo, head on over to Indiegogo, and he's under Ghost of the Badlands. And the cool thing is, I don't know if y'all have ever seen the artist that he's using is that George, what's his last name? George goes by G Prime 85 on Netflix. Good Lord. Twitter. George Alexopoulos. Alexopoulos. Sorry, I think I said it wrong. He's the guy. Yeah. He's that guy that illustrated he does those illustrations like where Joe Biden reaches out to you, he's like, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. And then like sucks the black out of the lady.
So I'm learning about all about this just now as Ty's saying it. And that seems like such a match made in right wing.
Yeah.
Just like, of course they would come together.
Yeah. So he did the cover of the Alex guy. George, sorry. He did the cover of his book, and it's beautiful. I don't know if do I have it on here. Let's see.
That's so funny.
Yeah, Death Mask.
I just feel that just makes so much sense that this exists.
See if it comes up.
I'm a little surprised I haven't heard of it.
Razor.
So I'm even more out of the loop than Ty.
Yeah,
At
I mean,
least I'm caught up on modern memes, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, you are caught up on modern memes. Let's see. Is that not his book? There's his book right
And
there.
there's Ty's death mask he had made, especially for this.
Especially. Let's just go with this. Come on. Today.
And
there's the artwork he did for his cover of his new book. So
very nice.
Pretty good stuff. And
I'm watching this now, and I'm thinking, Middle-Aged Mutant merch. We all have our own death mask that you can buy. It's a collectible. That'd
actually be kind of awesome. But I was going to show the trailer for his book. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to hear it. I don't think you will be. But it does show off a little bit of the art, and I'll make sure it's not too loud. But I don't know if y'all can hear that.
I cannot, but
okay, it's fine. It's mostly just the art, and it's apparently set in Arizona. That's where Razörfist is from.
That also makes so much sense. I don't know why. Just him being from Arizona just feels right.
And it's kind of cool because he has this, like, Razor has an affinity for like old weaponry. So even the gun this guy's using, I believe it's a Monlicker is what it's. Ty from the future here. I believe it's actually a Bergman 1896. Thought I was wrong when I said it on the stream, so I went and researched it afterwards. Sorry about that, Razor. On with the show. But his favorite gun he always talks about he bought was a C96 Mauser. And
nice.
I'm surprised that this guy wasn't using that. But again, if you want to go out and support him, I strongly suggest you support Razörfist and anybody who's doing the Lord's work over in the IronAge. Please support it because I want to continue to see this stuff come out.
Well, that's cool. I had no idea, and I consider myself a fan.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. Some fan I am.
Some fan you are. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about, this is a new player on the block in the digital comic space. It's called DSTLRY. And the reason apparently DSTLRY is kind of a big deal is because its former members, or I guess former, I guess they would be executives over at Comixology. And
this is the only pictures they have of them.
It's the only pictures they have. They are completely animated people.
These are courtroom sketches.
Their names are David Steinberger and Chris Mosher, and they co-founded.
I saw about this. I saw the big pool for comic book creators was if you publish through them, you still get to own the rights to your characers.
Yes,
the rights to your characters to publish through them.
And it's kind of like a who's who of people that are going to be in this, like James Tinian, Scott Snyder.
Interesting.
I don't know who Becky Cloonan is, but I do know who Jock is. And Ram, I don't know if that's Ram V or Ram 5. I don't know who that person is. They're also going to be in tow on this. And so I was pretty excited. I mean, to get Scott, I'm pretty big. Yeah, to get Scott and James, that's pretty good. And Jock, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Jock's art, but I do appreciate it because he did a lot of Daredevil and Batman back in the day.
Yeah.
So I wish them all the luck because I don't know if you guys have tried to use Kindle lately, the Comixology remnants on Kindle. It is awful.
Oh yeah, John heard me rant about that when it first changed. It because I lived in Comixology, and as far as I'm concerned, it's dead.
Yeah, and the thing is, some of the stuff that you bought, you can't even access anymore. And this is why I absolutely hate digital comics. I know you guys are really into it, but it just pisses me off to no end that my stuff I don't actually own. It's just any DRM change and I'm screwed. My stuff is gone. Like I was talking about how I was reading the Western comic called The Undertaker that Razörfist had suggested. Well, now when I try to go and read it on the browser, it doesn't let me use it. It says, nope, sorry, can't find it. And I'm like, what the hell?
Really? So, I haven't run into that issue. All the stuff I bought, I'm still able to do. It's just not as good of a viewing experience.
And plus they're freaking, what is it? Guided view. And they're just their regular, I I guess if we just standard view experience sucks. I don't like it. It's slow. Their servers are slow. I just don't understand what the problem is.
So I've read like pretty much nothing but the DC universe. Infinite Ultra. I gotta throw in the Ultra. It's a status thing. But so I've been reading pretty much that exclusively.
You're so bougie.
Yeah. I've had like no real issues with that. So I do remember I used to, before that, I was hitting a Comixology like pretty much on the reg, and I don't remember having many. I remember it's been so long now, but I do remember there were some issues. Even then, I don't remember what they were, but I remember the guided view ultimately being better on the DC app. But since this is coming out now, it excites me because, like we all know, I am really into the digital comics, and you can download them, but I never do that. But I do like the idea that there's a new player in here that's actually going to be credible enough to actually make someone like me, who's really only primarily interested in reading digital DC comics. But I think this is going to be awesome. This would be what it would take to actually have me look at something else besides DC, and because Comixology, like Jeremy said, it's pretty much dead. I like it's like a non company to me. Like it might as well not even exist.
Mm-hmm.
And for reading comics on the Kindle, especially like your Kindle that's only meant for like reading like actual books, it's like it's black and white, and like I remember like, I tried to read like a Flash comic on there. Like, what's the point? He's not even red. He's just black and white.
I guess the only thing you could read without any trouble would be like the old Ninja Turtle comics or the Walking Dead.
Yeah, like the Walking Dead. Like if you
I will say to play devil's advocate slightly is the browser experience for Comixology. They did implement some new stuff like about a month or so ago, and it's not near what it was. It's still nowhere near Comixology level, but it's usable in browser on a computer.
But what's on there now?
I mean, everything.
It still has the thing, but it
still has everything.
Marvel is enveloping their stuff. Like recently, I had heard that Marvel, anything that you bought on Comixology is now going to be only supported on the Marvel app. And I was
it's all moving over to the Marvel app.
It's all moving over to the Marvel app. And I was like, well, what the hell? So, and again, this is another reason why I do not like these digital rights managed digital comics, because if a server goes down or if they decide just, I don't want to do this anymore, all that shit's gone. You paid for it. Too bad. Unless they let you start downloading PDFs of this stuff. I don't know what to see. I mean, I don't know why it's any good.
On DC, the app, I see the download option. I haven't actually downloaded an issue yet. I never think to do that, so I don't know what that's like.
I did it in the beginning, but like I don't even know why I did it. Not be honest with
you can download, and I will say that Comixology also gave you the option before the full switch to Amazon to download everything you had bought. But it just takes a long time.
Yeah, the switch over to Amazon was sort of like the catalyst to.
Well, I say the switch over to Amazon actually happened years ago. It's just Amazon didn't touch them until like a year ago. Amazon just let them continue to run however they wanted.
Well, they should have let them keep running, because right now their experience is balls. I don't like it. I think their bandwidth is only set for these, black and white Kindle books. So these color high res comic books run slower on their servers, because I have a gig up and down internet speed. And so I'm like, well, why do I have to wait at all? I should be able to just click and it pops the page up. I'm not download. It's not even a 4K asset. It's maybe a 2K asset at the most. And there's lag to it. And sometimes I'll click and it will spin for like minutes upon minutes. And I'm like, why am I doing this? It sucks.
Yeah.
I'm sure I could go to like some pirate site and it would be a better freaking experience than this crap.
Yeah, I will say, like I said, they updated the experience if you're browsing on a computer. But it's like, if you want to view it on your tablet, if you want to actually use it on your Kindle, if you want to do anything else, it is awful. But they did make it so it no longer takes like 20 minutes to go through a comic like it used to.
Oh,
That's
dude,
just ridiculous.
It sucks.
Unacceptable.
Well, I honestly don't know how this is going to go down, because I know there's already and I can't remember, we did it on our show. There was another player that's out there too. Don't honestly remember their name. Yes, they signed exclusive deals with Image, Boom, and Tokyo Pop, I want to say.
And Archie Comics.
And Archie Comics, that's right. And so what was the name of that company? I honestly can't remember. But
I don't remember.
That's what kind of annoys me, is these exclusivity deals that get signed before something like this exists. And so these guys, I'm like, what are they going to do? Are they just going to be, is it just going to be their own publishing stuff that they do their own? Like, that's what I kind of gathered. Like they're going to be publishing digital first comics that are their own creations, but is that going to be enough to draw people to the site?
You see, this
probably not.
Well, you're getting some. I don't know how much they're paying the recognizable names. Like your Scott Snyder and your Tinian. There's like the two big ones, at least for me. And it's interesting. There's the appeal of seeing their brand new original creations, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know, when the inmates run the asylum, sometimes that can end badly. Then sometimes it could be like, oh, there is a reason they didn't get to do this.
Well, I don't know. You're kind of right. Is it going to be like the Image revolution? Where like everybody jumped ship from Marvel and DC, went over to Image, and it was like, it was fine for like a year, and then it started to suck balls because like they were just doing everything they could to mess things up, like putting the wrong covers on books, sending out stuff out super late, ending series, just terrible stuff.
Or just the content is simply not being as appealing, at least not to me. But then again, I've always sort of just been like a brand loyal type, like mainstream loyal, type of reader. Like
your company,
back
man?
in the day, back in the Image days, I was like, I don't know.
How many Image characters do we like know now? Like how many have survived?
Okay, so
Grifter for life.
Grifter, no. Grifter is officially a DC character now.
People who
he was also Vertigo, not Image.
I guess. I don't know. I'm not the Image historian. I just know Grifter.
He's not. He's Vertigo.
Grifter was Vertigo. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Was he an Image at first in Wildcats?
I mean, he was in Wildcats, right?
I know Saga exists now. That's about it. Saga, and I read something called No One.
We all love
Black Science.
But who was the
Spawn, Shadowhawk, Savage Dragon,
Shadowhawk,
Die Hard, Bad Rock, Shaft.
All these household names.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Grifter, yeah, you're right. Grifter was Image, then became Vertigo, then became DC.
Yes. See, I told you. I knew he was. He's part of the he's part of the Wildcats. I was gonna say, what the hell? Because I knew what happened was he was part of Wildstorm Studios, and so he's part of the Wildcats brand. And then when they moved it over to DC, I thought they just called it Wildstorm was that section. But did they add him to Vertigo? Is that what you're saying?
All of those comics were published under Vertigo brand when they first moved over. They weren't part of the main DC universe until I want to say like 2011.
Okay.
Until Flashpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's funny is a lot of my knowledge of like of even like names of things like Wetworks and Young Blood and things like that. I only know because of Wizard Magazine. I never actually. Like their the awareness of their comics owes a lot to Wizard Magazine. So I'm like, I wasn't buying these comics. I just knew that they existed because they appeared in this magazine.
Me and Bodz were super into Image when it came out.
Yeah.
Because we were following all these guys when they left. So it was a natural thing. We would go, Rob Liefeld's leaving, Todd McFarlane's leaving, Valentino, Silvestri, all these guys were doing comics that we were reading at the time. And so when they left, the art started to suck really quickly. We were like, oh crap. And so we just naturally moved on to these other characters. And what was cool about it, it was like the ground floor, and we could just pick up on the first issues. And it was really awesome. So I think
you thought you were getting something amazing. You thought, oh, I'm getting the first issue of Spawn.
Yeah.
And then everybody else did too.
Everybody else did too. Man, I was so go ahead.
Like we were that age when that happened. We were teenagers. Like, I think you're a little more willing to accept new things and characters and stuff that. Do you think a lot of the older crowd at that time were like, no, I'm going to stick with Marvel and DC. I don't care about this image.
I'm sure 100%. Like I've told John this before, I still have a coworker who is older who weekly complains that Wally West became the Flash.
This is hilarious.
Holy shit.
And, he feels
he's
like
hanging on, and he's like, damn it.
He'll still at least weekly tell me that that's the day comics died.
Oh. Well, you know what?
You should tell him that, Jay Garrick is the only Flash that you recognize.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can start a fight right there. We were so enamored with Image when it came out that and I don't think it was just a young thing, because there were like Levi's 501 commercials with Rob Liefeld in them and Spike Lee.
I remember those. Yes.
There was I remember videos came out where you could watch Todd McFarlane talking about Spawn and drawing with Jim Lee and Liefeld I think it was bigger than, I think it was pretty big, because you can't sell 3 or 4 million comics, which was crazy at the time. They were selling millions of comics. It wasn't like today, comic books are not doing so hot. I mean, they say if you sell 30,000 comics, that is like a smash hit. But back
it's
in
like that with a lot of things.
Yeah,
like especially with modern shows, is like TV viewing, like the ratings and viewerships. What's considered great now would be a fraction of what was successful then.
Yeah, 1.5 million now is considered a hit, but back in the day, that would get you canceled. So it's just crazy. It's just crazy what is going on right now. But I remember when we were kids, like Spider-Man #1 sold like 2.3 million copies. And then X-Men #1 sold like 8.2 million copies. And so whenever those guys moved
over, buy all 4 covers to get.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, you're right. That's probably why we see so many variants today, which I despise. I can't stand that. But they were still selling millions when they moved over to Image. So it couldn't have been, people couldn't have been that like hung up that they left the big two.
It is funny to think about how back in the day, we mentioned modern names, like you can mention like a Scott Snyder or Jim Stinney, like we know who those people are, but the amount of people who knew who like Jim Lee was and all this, it's weird to think about how like they were such big stars.
Oh God,
then.
yes.
And like now it's like, I feel like there's so many more people who are just like in tune with those comics. And now it's like, maybe it's just because there's just the sheer volume of entertainment things, like the options, comics have been sort of like shrunk down into their own little niche type of thing. Because back in the day,
I think they're still pretty popular though.
To choose from.
Well, but Image is still around, so it's not like it was a failure by any means, you know.
But I mean, when you go to a convention, and like for example, the last convention I went to was for Jim Lee, and I know he's part of DC now, but I mean, it was lines wrapped around the freaking building to go see him. I had to pay $100 to go and talk to him, and I just got to say like that. And because I have this problem, my wife makes fun of me every time I go to a convention because these guys were my flipping heroes when I was a kid. I was like, oh my God, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, Joe Quesada, all these guys were just my heroes. And so when I meet them in real life, I become a puddle of stupidity. I just can't.
Starstruck.
And I never had that like visceral reaction that whenever I met Jimmy Palmiotti was like the first guy I ever met that was like a comic book guy. And I remember I went up to him, and whenever I was like 13 or 14 years old, I was part of the event comics fan club. And if you don't know what that is, in between the time that Image, it's kind of like after Image, basically. Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti, they didn't go the Image way. They actually started their own company called Event Comics, and Humberto Ramos went with them too. And so they were a new comic. They had this superhero character called Ash, and Ash is supposed to, his claim to fame was he was the first firefighter superhero ever.
Yep.
And so I was all about it. I loved it because Joe Quesada, I thought was a god at the time. And so I never got to meet Joe Quesada. He before I left the town I used to live in, he was there and I didn't get to see him, but I always got to see Jimmy Palmiotti. But when I went in there, I still had that. But whenever you got into the Event Comics fan club, they gave you a bunch of like lithographs and stuff like that. They gave you like this 0 issue of Ash, and they gave you a little business card that said you were part of the event comics fan club. Sorry. And I took that up to him and I showed him. I said, "Can you please sign it?" And he goes, "Oh, whoa." He's like, "Stop. He's all, "You still have this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've had it. I was 13 or 14 when I got this." And he was like, "Okay, hold on. He's like, "I'm sorry, everybody in line. We gotta do something here." I was like, "Anybody who brings this in, they were supposed to get something free." He gave me a beer, and he sat there and pulled out one of my backings of my comics, and he drew me a picture of Ash on the back of it, and he wanted to talk to me for like
awesome.
30 minutes, and I was like, blah, 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 blah. I couldn't form sentences. My wife was looking at me like, "Why are you retarded now? This is like your time to shine, and you've turned to mush."
And he was like, "I appreciate you being a fan." Can you hear
and
me? Is he okay?
He thought he just thought it was a Make-A-Wish situation.
Yeah. But it was super cool. He was really nice. I don't like his politics, but I like him personally because he's a nice person. And I remember he even said, "Come here, come with me." And he took me over to Humberto Ramos and he said, "Show me your card." And Humberto looked at it and he smiled and he said he signed it, and then he said some stuff to me, and I was like, "Well, that's flipping amazing." So
that's awesome.
That was
Ty doesn't get Star Trek to, famous actors. Like George Clooney's been in the room with him the entire time trying to sleep. And he's like, "Keep it down, guys."
No, dude, I think I think
I could be espresso, so keep you up.
Yeah, I could be next to like the biggest star. I think I could be next to Tom Cruise and I wouldn't be retarded, but you put me, dude, y'all know who Mark Kiesler is? Do you remember the Imagination Station? Like it was like this public access TV thing where he drew it was just this kind of chubby guy with a mustache, and he would just teach kids how to draw. All right. So that was like my
familiar.
Yeah, it was called the Imagination Station. It was back in the 80s. And I think in late 70s. This guy would just draw on this big piece of paper, and he would just show you how to do foreshortening, and he would show you how to draw shadow and all gesture draw, all that good stuff. Well, I was like, "Oh, I loved Mark Kiesler as a kid." Well, I met him at one of the conventions, and again, it happened. I was like, I just couldn't. and I was like, "You're the most awesome. You're like, you don't even know how much you like started my drawing off and whatever."
And this is before his bodyguard escorted him off the premises.
And he just kind of looked at me like he just had this like wide-eyed look like, "What's wrong with him? I don't understand." So just know if I ever meet you at a convention, and you're a comic book artist, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, Ty doesn't get Star Trek. He talks to Bodz all the time.
Bodz is famous. We gotta point that out.
Doesn't miss a beat.
But again, I wish DSTLRY all the luck. I don't know how you're going to do it considering you don't have any exclusivity signed yet, except for your talent. But
even their talent isn't exclusive.
Yeah, we need some new players in this game, because right now comics, or Kindle is what they're calling now, sucks balls. And I don't.
You mentioned that they have these exclusivity rights, and it makes me think it makes me think of how, like, I wonder how many shows would get such a better chance if they just appeared on like some bigger platform, or just weren't stuck to this one platform. Because I'm sure there's been really quality series. I'm just talking about like shows now, right? And I wonder how many good TV shows or whatever, or probably like honest to goodness, like really quality shows. I never saw them because they're stuck on like Tubi or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like some Crackle exclusive that might actually have been good, but they're stuck. They're like chained to their one platform, at least for the time being. And I wonder if I'm like the same thing's got to be happening with comic books. There's probably some really good book out there that is
Well-
may get stuck in just
Well,
one little smaller thing.
That makes me think of Clear. Clear is a book that is done by Snyder, and it's an exclusive. Well, it was an exclusive digital to Comixology, and it's just recently they started printing the thing, and it's great. I love it. I highly suggest reading it. But I wonder how much it hurt them just to be an exclusive. And now that they're printing it, it's like kind of them trying to like, I guess, make back their money. And just to let y'all know, the name of that competitor, that signed Image Boom and all that, it's called Global Comics.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, okay.
There you
Okay.
go. Global
Yeah.
Comics.
I will
So-
say, John, you joke about the like Crackle exclusive. Crackle actually did have a exclusive show that was
Really?
actually pretty good. And I think if it had been on a different network, it could have been a great show. But it actually got 3 seasons on Crackle. It starred
Really?
Milo Ventimiglia from Heroes.
Yeah.
And
I
it
know
was
what you mean.
basically, and it was sort of like a thriller mystery where he basically received a box in the mail that had a gun and a picture with a stranger, and he was told he has to kill that stranger, and until he does, someone else is going to be actively hunting him, and it just sort
shit.
of spins off from there. But it was actually a really interesting concept and stuff. I remember when I saw it, I was just like, man, I wish this was on anything but Crackle. They would probably have it. Because it also starred One Tree Hill's Chad Michael Murray.
So
Oh,
it's
okay.
basically the natural continuation of where Gilmore Girls left off.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It was basically just season 7 of Gilmore Girls.
All right, well, let's move on to the next topic, guys. Stranger Things has, I guess, teaming up with TMNT for a comic book. I already knew that there was a Stranger Things comic because there's a couple omnibuses out right now, and people say it's really good. So this seems kind of like a natural thing. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they team up
Well,
with everybody.
This makes a lot of sense to me now because for some reason, I don't know if they knew about this way ahead of time, but at Target, I don't know if it's a Target exclusive toy, but they have Stranger Things Ninja Turtle team up toys.
Mm.
And I
So
guess it's
weird.
because of this. Yeah.
That's cool.
You get-
I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
know the Turtles. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Well, it's like you get 11 with Raph, and you get Hopper with, I don't know, another one of
That's
them.
so weird, but it's
Yeah, it's
I
like
guess.
I guess we're in the 80s, so
Yeah. I don't
why
know.
not?
I kind of wonder, is this because of the waning popularity of Stranger Things or the waning popularity of the Turtles? I doubt it's the Turtles because they have survived decades upon decades. They just get reinvented over and over and over and over.
You know what's funny is I think of Stranger Things like, oh, it's nearing the end, but I'm like, man,
Yep.
season 4 would killed it as far as people watching,
Oh yeah.
and people still talk about it. So I'm like, every time I think Stranger Things has got to be over, it comes back and it's like does just crazy numbers.
yeah.
Well,
I'm like-
they're getting ready to launch their the stage play in London
God.
and London's West End in like a month.
God.
It's
No,
called
that's
like
like
the first shadow.
The first
Yeah.
shadow.
That's
Yeah.
like the kiss of death, though. That happened to the Ninja Turtles as well. And you see
The
what
live
happened
show.
there.
the coming out of their shell tour.
Yes.
Well, I mean, this is a little bit different than that. This is actual London West End. I mean, that they've had a lot of different successful things go up on there. But I was gonna
I don't
say
know.
it
Coming
is.
out of their shell tour had a cassette tape you can get at Pizza Hut. So
I know. I've seen it. I own it, and I have watched it probably 3 or 4 dozen
Plus,
times.
who did we say was one of the
Michael Ian Black used to
Michael Ian Black.
Turtle at one time.
Now
as
I don't
part
know
of, like the live Black performances.
I have to
Really?
clarify. Yes,
Yeah,
I have to
yeah.
clarify something about that though. I don't know if he was actually a stage performer or just a traveling like hype man, because what he said is that they had asked, "Can you travel to these places ahead of the show dressed as a Ninja Turtle to get the kids all hyped up to come watch this thing?" And he told a story about how he was in Mexico and he was dressed up as a turtle and getting the kids, and they like ended up climbing up on top of a building and they were waving at the kids, and he was like, he couldn't believe how many kids, these like poor little Mexican kids, they were like, "Oh my god, the Ninja Turtle!" You know, they were just like so hyped for the Ninja Turtles. So
Well, yeah.
and I was like, yeah, Ninja Turtles transcend borders, dude. They were like hyper popular in our time, so that doesn't actually surprise me at all. But yeah, Michael Ian Black, is that what you say his name is? I always thought it was.
And now he's going to be playing one of the Stranger Things kids. Now it's for the live show, so it all kind of comes full circle. He's going to play Michael, I think, and so it's going to work out.
So I guess First Shadow is supposed to be about Victor Creel as a teenager.
Oh, okay.
And it's supposed to sort of flash back and forth between Victor Creel as a teenager, like in the 30s, and Joyce and Hopper as teenagers in like the late 50s, early 60s.
Okay.
And essentially it might be interesting, but I'll never see it because I am not flying to England to go watch it.
No. There's a lot of Stranger Things coming out stuff. Like there's going to be a prequel book for Eddie Munson because he's such a popular character. But it's like, what's going to happen in it? I mean, he's not going to encounter anything.
Before anything supernatural, it's just Eddie struggling.
Any stranger things happen to him? Yeah,
just playing D&D and just I
guess so. But there literally is going to be a novel. So.
Well,
it's, I mean, Stranger Things has already been huge, right? But the bigger it gets, the bigger anything gets, it reminds me of how just like less special it becomes. And you're like, it's this weird feeling of like the thing I like is becoming really like that much more popular. So I'm getting more of it. So this shouldn't be a problem, but it kind of feels weird.
I know that, like, I watched this like when it first came out on Netflix and it wasn't hyped or anything like that. And I go, wow, this is 80s. Right up my alley. It's amazing. And it's like a lot of things I like that I'm pretty sure that, the world revolves around me now because everything I like is going to be super popular. So, I like John, we went to see Napoleon Dynamite at like the Angelica.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh my God.
Theater. We saw it a year before it came out. And
I remember going back like to like my hometown name redacted, but after seeing it and telling people I knew, I was like, "Oh, saw this movie. It's really weird, but it was really funny." And all of this, no idea what I was talking about.
I had that same experience. Little art house theater. I was living in Monterey. It came out about a year before it got wide release, and when I went back to that same hometown, it was like I was like, "Oh, you haven't seen it, man? We saw it like 3 times." And they're like, "Never even heard of it." And it's like, "Oh well, it's good."
It's good. That's all you know. They should not make an animated series. It will not end well. But
they did. It was horrible.
Well, speaking of animated series, the next thing that we were going to talk about was, it's a good segue, was the fact that they're also making a cartoon about this.
And so what I've heard about this is they really want to catch that, Saturday morning cartoon feel to
crowd.
It, Yeah, but then I've seen like who they want to do like the artwork and stuff like that, and I think it's the Moon Girl show that's on Disney.
No, I'm
oh God,
turned off.
I'm like,
oh God,
that's
immediately
no. You need that. You need that.
You need to go back. Yes,
you need to go get some like Korean
like
animators
that quasi, that quasi anime look.
Yeah.
Dude, I hate this new style that everything is in. Like that freaking Steven Universe. I don't hate Adventure Time as a show, but I'm just this crappy art It just does not work for that, and they should not do that.
I'm really conflicted when it comes to like the modern style of art. Like on the one hand, most of it I don't like, and as Jeremy and y'all know, I'm not the biggest animation watcher. I don't consume a lot of it. And so a lot of art to me, I'm either indifferent toward or there's no like modern animation that I see that I think it looks really good. Like sometimes maybe I'll see something, but for the most part, it either looks fine or terrible. And most things look terrible to me. And I'm conflicted because I'm like, on the one hand, I think it looks awful. But on the other hand, I'm like, standards have been lowered so much. Maybe I have a chance to do this professionally.
Well, I like that there's like a silver lining to all this crap. And like, well, maybe there's a chance.
Maybe there's a chance. Well, I think this brings us to a dad bods moment here.
Okay, hold on one second.
Special music I play is like an after school special. Bodz is here to rap with us.
Go for it.
So, I don't know how this came about, but for some reason, my 8-year-old daughter wanted to watch Stranger Things. And so it was when the 4th season came out, which is arguably the most violent of the seasons because, Vecna can snap people's limbs with his mind and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so we were able to watch the first 3 seasons just fine. Like she wanted to binge watch it. She's all about it. And then we got to the 4th season. I had to say, close your eyes and stuff like that. But then after a while, I was like, am I a bad parent that I'm letting her watch this? Because
no.
And just so the audience knows, she is 5 years old.
No, I said 8. I said 8.
8.
Which isn't much better.
Well, no, think about it, Bodz. When was the first time you saw like Nightmare on Elm Street or Monster Squad or the stuff that we used to watch?
But he doesn't want her to turn out like him.
And I don't want her to turn out like me. I saw Friday the 13th for the first time last year, and it terrified me. I peed the bed. No, of course, it is so different. Like when we were kids in the 80s, like man, we were watching stuff, and it's like this is rated PG, and they're just like cussing nonstop, and lots of blood. But yeah, no, you're right, because this is the closest thing that like she's kind of have to like those kind of things, because this last season was very, very much like Nightmare on Elm Street, that feel to it. So,
but you also don't want her to turn out to be one of these flippin' kids that you hear about now. That's like, oh, I'm a two-spirit wonderkin, and I live with my parents still, and a point of personal privilege, I am also disabled in my brain. And it's like you either raise the kid like an 80s kid like we were, where you just like shove him into broken glass or let the TV fall onto him and let him watch horrible stuff on TV, or they turn out to be one of these fucking idiots that you hear on the Twitters and the twatters and all that TikTok and all that shit. I swear to God, these kids these days are most infuriating, insipid retards that I have ever come across. I would love if your children didn't become that.
This show is called the Middle-Aged Mutants, so I'll just point that out.
Yeah, this segued into Ty's soapbox right there. So.
Yeah, I don't have a graphic for it. I gotta come up with a graphic. I would love it if your kids didn't turn out like that, because I want to.
Every now and then we have a nice cloud we have to yell at some, but at least I do.
but all in all, that was a good father-daughter bonding thing, because it was stuff I liked from the 80s, and it was like introducing her to stuff. And then after that, you know what we did? We're like, let's watch E.T. Let's watch other things that these are based on. We watched Super 8 last week, which is another great
I
movie.
remember liking that one.
And she liked that a lot. So it's
Monster Squad. You show her Monster Squad.
We watch Monster Squad. That's like one of our Halloween movies. We'll watch Monster Squad during Halloween and stuff.
Oh, I forgot. We're talking to Bodz here. If it's not like appropriate for the time or the place, Bodz won't watch it.
It's like, no, seasonal,
you can't watch it. You can't watch other times of year. I won't watch Lost Boys any other time of year, or Die Hard any other time of year than Christmas. Lethal Weapon 1.
Things never change.
Only Christmas. But all in all,
that makes sense.
I hope, and I really, really hope that the cartoon is does what they say. Like it makes it kind of like 80s like Saturday morning. You know what I started doing like on the weekend in the morning as I started putting on Saved by the Bell for her. I was like, I want you to experience like what we experienced.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So-
That's good.
Because there is no Saturday morning cartoons anymore.
Yeah, you know what you can
There's-
throw in,
that
and she
is-
would lose her mind. Kids Incorporated. Kids
I remember
Incorporated.
Kids
You remember that?
Yeah.
And I think you can't. I think there's some kind of legal right, like the
What?
rights to the show, so they can't put it out on anything. I was reading about that, and
Oh,
Probably because of
The
all
electric
probably 'cause
company?
of all the music, they didn't actually have the
oh
rights.
well, that's probably
Yeah.
true. That's
it's
probably the
it's
case.
probably what it is.
I didn't know. My wife was telling me about this, like, because I just remember watching it with my sisters and being like, "God, kill me now, kill me now." And I didn't know that Fergie was the little girl, the little blonde
Really?
girl
That's
on this.
interesting.
And
On what?
on Kids Incorporated. Fergie
No way.
was that? Yes, yeah, I believe so. It was
Wow.
Fergie or somebody like that.
Jennifer Love Hewitt was on it.
Really?
Hmm.
Dang.
I did not know that. I swear
Wow.
it was the show with Cuba Gooding Jr.'s brother, right? It was Omar Gooding, right? Is this the same show?
I don't remember
I
there
don't
being
know.
a black kid, but I could be
think
totally
it
wrong.
had
about
Mario.
that.
It had Mario Lopez and Jennifer Love Hewitt are like the only two people I know that were.
Well, that
probably
must have been later
misremembering
seasons
something.
because I know they changed
I'm
up the kids every
probably-
once in a while.
I'm
Yeah.
probably not remembering something correctly because the aforementioned middle-aged portion of this program.
Well,
Do y'all remember the like
what-
scary? Go ahead.
no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I was like, y'all, this is weird. This might be just me that remembers this. Do y'all remember the scary Winnie the Pooh cartoon from? It wasn't a cartoon. It was a live action TV show on Disney, the Disney Channel. Terrifying people in
Oh,
in
yeah.
costumes. That was
I remember that.
I don't even know where you would find that anymore. But I remember as a kid, I was like, I'm intrigued, but also disturbed by this. And it came on like right after Kids Incorporated. I just don't know if kids.
I do remember that. The most terrifying thing I remember as a child was a very special episode of Punky Brewster where they went to. Did you know where I'm going with this, Ty?
yeah.
They go to that camp at like an Indian. I don't know, like Camp Wamatoga or something, like that, and they go camping there.
yeah.
And they go into this Indian cave, and not like the fun of Smallville where you find out all kinds of magical alien artifacts.
Yeah.
No, it turns into like a nightmare episode, and like the boy gets like it's like a weird puppet thing of him like trapped in the wall and stuff. If you ever want nightmare fuel, look up like Punky Brewster goes to camp or something like that, and it will just show you the most terrifying things. It was just a dream, I believe, but it was scary.
You know what's scarier than that though is the Different Strokes
What?
episode where he tries to get the boys to drink wine and all that.
Take off.
I remember watching that. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't,
that.
I don't know
so
what
that's,
to do.
That's for the Strokes portion of the. That it finally makes sense now.
Yeah, no, I just remember he was like, "Hey boys, you like drinking wine? You guys like taking your shirt off?" And I was like, "I don't know where this is going, but I don't like it."
I don't know where this is going, but I'm getting the VCR ready for this one. Man.
Yeah.
I'm just,
The one that always sticks out in my mind, and it was on reruns at the time, but it was what was it, Mr. Belvedere, the butler guy? I can't remember what the name of the show was, but I just remember there was
This
one
was
where
Mr.
someone
Belvedere,
had-
wasn't it?
Okay, I
it was
remember there was
Mr.
one
Belvedere.
Yeah.
where one of the kids' schoolmates had AIDS, and that was like the big thing, and it was like the fact that he was willing to still hang out with them and all that. I just remember that was my introduction to learning that AIDS was a thing that existed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I saw it on HBO. Remember, there was one episode where there was these 3 kids that were like super into Daredevil, and they were like, "Hey guys, we should become blood brothers." But what they didn't know was one of them had a blood transfusion, and so he'd already contracted HIV, and they were talking about it, and they were going to do it. And then that kid found out right before they ended up doing it. So they still went to school, pierced their fingers with like a lancet, and then bled onto the ground, and then mixed it up on the floor. I'm like, it's just me. Maybe I would have skipped this. I wouldn't have done
Yeah,
this.
that seems a little unsanitary as it is.
Yes.
Yeah, it seems still like bad. We should. And that's a good way to get a virus. And you know who else had a virus? The poor people in the DC universe.
Yes, this is a good segue into our main topic of discussion, folks. Let me just move this here. Okay.
So, I just want to say this for this issue of the comics. This is written by Tom Taylor, who I didn't when I read this comic series, I got such boomer vibes from it. I want to know if y'all feel the same way. Only because the internet and social media was bad, and people need to stop looking. People need, and we're talking about DCeased from DC Comics.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
The entire. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say the whole internet being the way to spread the virus thing. It to me, I was just like, Tom Taylor must have read Stephen King's Cell, because Stephen King wrote a book where basically people became zombies after talking on their cell phone, and I was like, this is way too similar for him to have not read that.
Yeah.
Well, this came out in what? This came out in 2019, right? That's when it was originally published.
I believe so. Yeah.
And so that was like right before COVID. So I think it was weird when I was reading this. I was like, when did this come out? Did he like do this during COVID? Because I wouldn't think that you would have wanted to do something like this during COVID, but I guess they were like in too deep. And so they go, oh, well, what the hell? I don't know what part of I think
it was all published in 2019. Like, I think it was done before 2020 even.
Before 2020?
They found out recently this caused COVID. So that was also
it was.
So it's people reading the comic, and
I just think it's weird. I do think it's a novel approach to, because I was wondering, like when you guys had told me about this, I was wondering how the zombies were going to happen. So I thought it was a novel approach to use like in-lore stuff like the anti-life equation. Because you always talk with Darkseid, you always talk about the anti-life equation.
And Darkseid also always deals with the black racer. Like, that's a thing that comes up in Darkseid comics a lot too. So the fact that he sort of had the hubris of combining the two things he's sort of lord over, and it being his downfall, was very interesting.
Yeah. And it's a darn Victor Stone, the darn cyborg.
Yeah.
It was just a liability. He should be locked up, because at any time he could be the catalyst for this huge virus. And because he gets, basically in the comic, he gets napped. He gets a cyborg napped.
And I did love the ominous thing of, I like how it started just sort of like a generic, oh, we beat you. And then it's like, the lasso of truth compels you. He's like, yeah, I'll leave. I have no reason to think. I got what I came for. It's like, well, that is ominous. Okay.
And I like how Batman was just like, oh shit, I just noticed this tracker that I have on Vic.
Yeah,
he's off planet, and they're like, what? And they're like, of course, that's what Batman does.
Yeah,
they're surprised every time.
I felt like the opening was very kind of generic, which was, in my opinion, worked to the series' favor, in that it takes the generic and then twist it.
Right.
But I will say, so the original, there was one difference here at the beginning from the original pitch. The original pitch for this was that Highfather observes that this is going to happen, and he's worried about it happening. And Highfather and the new gods destroy Apocalypse to try to prevent it from going off. And I just thought that was an interesting like switch to have it that to have Darkseid do it.
So as the series progressed, there was the whole because of the whole cyborg.
I forgot, guys. We we should have talked about this at the beginning. We will be talking about spoilers in this, so please just notice the spoiler alert, please. We should have done that at the beginning. We will be talking about spoilers. Go ahead.
Well, it's when you have the cyborg act as sort of like the catalyst to do the person who basically, I guess, introduces the virus once he gets back to Earth or whatever, and it transmits. But it goes to like the internet, and as also like the more traditional like blood transfusion, I guess, like you get bitten essentially, and to the point where I think at one point in the series, like they basically destroy the internet, but people are still turning into zombies. So I'm like, after some point, I'm like, if we remove the digital aspect of this from the story, would it have still happened?
Well, the
And
difference, I think the difference would have been it would have been slower. They might have been able to contain it as
I
opposed to
guess,
it being a
yeah,
global simultaneous outbreak.
yeah,
Like
Mhm.
they
and
started out behind the curve because of the internet thing.
and
Mhm.
I will say when I first saw this, like speaking of which, you mentioned it came out in 2019. Since I read things sort of a lot of things when they like way after when they come out, I didn't really piece together that that's when this was released. I was reading DC's thinking like, oh, this came out like 6 months ago, right? Like, no, it was a couple of years ago. I'm like, oh, okay.
Four
Yeah,
I'm
four
just
years 4 years ago,
4 years
John.
ago, yeah.
yeah.
I'm just really out of it, I guess. But
I read this when it first came out
Mhm,
because I actually was a fan of the Marvel Zombies
mhm.
uh,
right,
run
right,
that they did, which we know this is kind of the DC version of it, but
Yes.
Right.
it's very clever. DCeased, you know,
Mhm.
that
Theseus.
is
Yeah.
clever. But
Marvel was less clever.
they're like
Marvel
Marvel's
zombies.
Zombies. There you
Marvel
go.
Zombies.
Although I will say that so Marvel is about to drop the Marvel zombies into an omnibus, and they called it the Marvel Zomnibus.
No,
There
that's
you
Uh,
good.
go.
There you go.
That's
There,
what you do.
there you go.
that fixes everything.
Yeah.
So
There,
there's a lot of awesome moments in this series, and I think one thing that stuck out to me, two things. The first thing is just more of like more like a general observation of just how completely effed the DC universe became. Like, I'm like, man, all it takes is a zombie outbreak, and people just, man, they just get their asses handed to them
Yeah.
repeatedly because
yeah.
things keep on going so much, like things keep on getting worse and worse and worse. But the main thing that stuck out to me, though, specifically, is how Batman's aware of his infection, and he
Mhm.
gets into a Mister Freeze suit, and I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
awesome.
So
That's cool.
that was interesting. So I went through. I found Tom Taylor's original pitch for this. So there are some interesting differences, but I thought it was interesting. He had the Mister Freeze suit in there from the very beginning, but originally it was because you know in the first issue he comes across Dick and Tim who attack him.
Yeah.
Dick wasn't even in the original pitch at all. It was Tim and Damien, and it was Damien who turned him.
Oh.
Really,
Yeah, and
That's-
so that was like one big difference. The other big difference, and this is a time you never hear about times when the executives have notes for the better. Oh, to me, one of my favorite moments in all of DCeased, one of the my favorite, just sort of like, oh man, this is an amazing type panel, is when we have Black Canary become the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
the
And
Green Canary, right?
The
Canary
Green Canary.
and yeah, Green Lantern Hal was not in this at all. It was just supposed to be her and Oliver out camping, and that was all a network executive note. And I was like, well, that was a good, or not network, I guess, publishing executive note. And I was like, well, that was a good note
Editorial.
because that
Yeah.
that led to a really awesome, I felt, scene and character.
Yeah. And also, I mean, it makes sense because it's got to find the closest person who's worthy.
Well,
So she's right to her already, right?
Green Lantern wasn't originally there at all. It was not the Green
I know.
Lantern didn't. Yeah,
I know, but the fact that he's there, it's like it's convenient. She's there. So
exactly. But okay, so if I can just say real big, real quick, real general, what I loved about this series in general was the first issue. It's fine, it ends with Batman sort of being infected, but to me, it still feels like a general story. Like you can still feel like, oh, they're gonna reverse stuff. They're
Yeah.
gonna reverse stuff. Actually, all the way through until the end of, because I mean, even in like every single issue, you've got Superman basically, Black Lightning and them are fighting Clayface. They can't do anything. Up, he just takes care of it. Like basically every single thing he just easily handles. And then at the end of that fifth issue, when Superman finally gets infected and it ends with Hope lost, that was like to
Yeah,
me where it flipped and switched, because it was like,
Yeah.
well, we're giving up on Hope at that point.
yeah, and
Yeah.
speaking of that, it just sort of it's it's almost like Tom Taylor was just showing like, the DC universe is a lot of really powerful people just running around, and if like one bad day for them is basically the end of the world. Like,
Mhm.
Captain Adam should just be locked away somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how he's just like permitted just to like live. You know what I mean? Like
And they
him
Yeah.
and
they sort of
Is
him and Firestorm should just be away somewhere.
yeah.
Just
Let's say
Well,
they
isn't
sort
it
of
always Captain Adam that gets like? Wasn't he like the catalyst for the worst part of Kingdom Come?
Kingdom
Yeah.
Come.
yeah.
He blows up.
Somebody
yeah.
split him in half, and he like he took
I
out
believe it was the
Kansas.
parasite.
I believe so,
think.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, anyway, Jeremy, they kind of show like you're saying, like they sort of show why Captain Adam is. I don't know what you're going to say, but I did. It just reminds me of like how even Fire and Ice are like,
Mhm.
good grief, like,
Yeah.
like, these people are like really dangerous. You know,
Yeah.
I did wonder, obviously, power levels when they're being written vary from person to person. But I do wonder, the one thing I do wish they had explored, especially since she was in the series throughout, was whether or not Ivy's pheromones worked on the zombies or not. Because we've seen in a comic, I want to say recently, but like you said, with how things are, it might have been 5 years ago, where Ivy literally took over the entire world in a single day. And it was just like I have to assume her pheromones didn't work, or else otherwise this is really on Ivy.
it's
Yeah.
it's either that or in this particular version of the DCU, she just doesn't have as powerful pheromones, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Because there are
Yeah.
certain little choices, like Dr. Fate had like a slightly different costume in the comic he appears in, and
Mhm.
even Desaad looks slightly different than I've seen him.
Yeah.
So I'm like, they kind of, they take advantage of the fact that it's like not supposed to be like the proper DCU. But
Yeah.
I did like how the reveal of the person writing, I guess, the obituary for the planet ends up being Lois. And I'm like,
Yes.
once it
Yeah.
was revealed, I'm like, yes, of course it's Lois. I don't know why
That's
I
fitting.
wasn't
Yeah.
thinking Lois.
Yeah.
And
Is
just
it Lois? Because okay, I've read way ahead of you guys. I've read the entirety of the series, and maybe I'm thinking of the last book. There is somebody who is basically the narrator, and it turns out to be. At first, I thought it was Lois, but it's not. So
gotta be
did it say?
Cat
Did it
Grant,
say
right?
it?
Well, it was definitely in the pitch. It was supposed to be Lois. They might have changed it in sequels, but like that was the intention in this, was that it was
Okay,
Lois.
I just want to make sure because I'm trying to remember. I was like, because in the last two books, especially in the last book, it is not Lois who's talking as the overarching narrator. So I was just like, did they say that it was Lois?
It's
They didn't say it. It was heavily implied in this one. It never
Okay.
said it was Lois. It just ends.
I
with
guess
Lois
not.
talking- It starts with her talking about how I didn't want my child to have to worry about monsters. That it ends with her arm around her child as it narrates the end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess you could argue that she technically never said this is Lois Lane signing off.
Yes,
Right.
I
Or
know.
anything like that.
Yeah, though that's the only reason I asked because, like I said, in the last two books, especially the last one, you find out who the narrator is in that towards the very, very end. So I was like, oh, did they say it in here and then change
just had-
narrators?
They just
I don't know.
heavily implied it here, but they never flat out.
It
said
makes
So they-
sense though because here it's like a courier type set for the
Yeah.
narrator, and so they
Yeah.
really got to change that though because the lines are too thin and it's really hard to read digitally.
It was hard to read, especially
It
on my
was.
phone.
You
And,
have to
I like
you
to
have
think
to
the,
thicken up your type,
Yes, increase the weight or something.
crease the
But,
weight, something.
I
Well-
was hoping it would, instead of Lois, it's like a article written by Cat Grant, like the other Daily Planet.
Yeah,
That'd be
that would be
hilarious.
great.
Well, see,
But,
there's another part
man.
of the book too where it's I don't know if it was in this one. I don't think it was in this one because just to give you like I read the Unkillables, Hope at World's End, and then A Good Day to Die, and one of them is narrated by Jimmy Olsen.
That's
So
the,
that's what,
that's the Hope at World's End, because that's like a side story, I guess, of what the other.
and
one
that's
is.
why I thought it might have been him talking in this one, but then I guess that makes sense because he didn't have kids. So
yeah, this one is implied to be Lois. The Hope, but the Hope at World's End, I think it's called, whatever. That narrator in that one is Jimmy. That was released like well over a year later as like a separate series. Like
and it was digital only, right? Because it looked digital only to me because it wasn't.
It was originally digital only.
Okay.
Well, it wasn't. I take that back. It wasn't digital only. It was digital first, and then that was back when they were doing their digital first, and then like every 3 or 4 issues, they would release them as a physical thing with like 3 or 4 of them combined.
It's weird because the way the page is set up, I wouldn't think that would have been an easy task because it was like every page was like a spread. It was just like, I thought that was so strange when I was reading. I was like, what is this? I looked back at the beginning, it's all digital first. I thought it said digital, but now that I remember, you said digital first. So that makes sense. But
one thing I want to talk about is
first, this issue right here you've got on there, the first issue of DCeased. If I'm not mistaken, isn't that just a homage to Detective Comics #1 from New 52?
Or the first or Batman?
It was Batman. It wasn't Detective because
it was Batman.
This is Greg Capullo that's drawing this here too.
Yeah,
and I believe it was
he did do Batman. Yeah,
because Detective one, if I'm not mistaken, was done by Tony S. Daniel, and it had Batman and what looked to be like a severed head of Joker, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember.
Yeah, that was the weird one. Yeah.
So Ty, if you want to show that first image I put into the chat, that was the variant cover for issue #1.
Yeah, that's the one I had,
and they did movie homage covers for all of them. So they did the It one was the variant cover for the first one, which is I like that one. And then Nightmare on Elm Street, that was the one for the second one. I really like the Nightmare on Elm Street one. I think
this is if I would have bought anyone, it would have been this one because I like that.
It's
very cool.
And then Final Destination.
What a choice.
Which I like. And then the last one I was wrong. So this is Critters is what this is.
Oh my god. Yeah. I see it now. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It is Critters.
The Krites. I think Bodz was like way into Critters if I remember right.
I really wasn't, but I really liked the idea of them. And you know what it was?
I think it was the Bounty Hunters is what you were into.
Yeah, the Bounty Hunters were cool. But I remember because of just the environment me and Ty grew up in, there were tumbleweeds, and I like to pretend they were critters, and we would jump over them, and good times.
Yeah,
good times. I guess there's only 2 more. I'll put the other 2 in the chat since I didn't. I don't know if you're able to.
Oh no, you got them over. I got you have a Turtles one in here that I didn't see, and then let me copy this link right quick.
One thing.
And I'll do the last one here. Oh, go ahead, John.
One thing I want to talk about before I have to sign off here pretty soon. But one thing I want to talk about is just the ending of the main series and how just like I guess there's like a twist there, like the twist ending. How there was basically like a cure, like they didn't have to leave Earth, and yet they were too late. All these ARC ships were traveling to their Earth too, and I'm like, this gives me flashbacks to the 100.
This is the Nun. Okay, this is the Nun
on the CW show. But I just like, man, I just really dug the ending there. It was sort of like it was in the same vein as maybe like the Mist, not exactly the same.
Yeah,
sort of
I was thinking that the Mist.
Yeah. That one is the Nun. That one is the Nun, and then that last.
This is the Nun. Yeah.
Yeah. Then the last one, that's the Curse of La Llorona.
La Llorona.
La Llorona, a conjuring, 2 conjuring tie-ins that are also in
My Sharona.
I honestly think the Nun one and the Curse of La Llorona were chosen just because they're Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Probably.
I feel like the other 4 are all like more classic horror.
Yeah, I like all the 80s stuff better.
I enjoyed the tie-in for this. The what was it? Good Day to Die? Is that what?
That was a fun one. That was
fun because I mean I guess he Booster Gold there, and I like that. Like they're like, all right, well, Booster Gold has to go save everybody by using his time machine, and then like I don't exist anymore, and he just disappears.
Yeah, and you got Marty McFly right there.
That's what would happen.
it was like one of those like we're just gonna have some fun with the time travel aspect. It's not
Yeah.
like
I did like they had the linear man. It's like such a deep cut, and then he played like
Yeah.
no practical part whatsoever. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Ty,
It's like
there's the Good Day to Die movie homage.
Oh, they had one for that one too.
They did.
Let me
It was
copy
another
had-
another Conjuring one, but this one was
It
the
was
actual
nice.
Conjuring.
In the Good
There
Day
you
to
go.
Die, it was nice to see bartender Bobo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bobo.
And it was very nice seeing him just hanging out at the Oblivion bar. I always liken it, like, because they did it in Infinite Crisis as well. I do like that whenever there is an apocalyptic situation, you know that at some point it's going to cut to the Oblivion bar and someone's going to get roped into helping. It
Yep.
happens every the apocalypse.
Oh man,
I don't know. I liked a lot of this series, but then I felt like it was just kind of like, I don't know. It felt like it just kind of went like, well, there we are. That's it. Because you say, they just kind of leave. Nothing happens. And at the time, I guess there was no tie-in. There wasn't going to be like a sequel or anything like that. And I feel like they were probably looking at that going like, that kind of ended with kind of a whimper. Because Superman, he goes into the sun and starts to suck it up. And then they leave for Earth 2. And
the original pitched ending was more of a downer. So
really?
so the original pitched ending would have left no room for a sequel. The original pitched ending is the arc start to take off, and infected Superman sees them, and in the original pitch he was infected by Parasite, not by Ray Palmer. But he rises up from the earth, and so Wonder Woman.
It was actually the Flash, right?
No, it was the Flash. Sorry, Ray Palmer.
Yeah, because the Flash.
Sorry. Yeah. But
and I call bullshit on that, dude. So he was going so hyper fast that it pierced the explosion of the Flash, pierced his skin with his rib bones.
Well, it could have been if he saw it coming, he could have purposely vibrated his hand in to infect.
I don't know, because that's what I gathered, right? He hit him, the Flash exploded, and then when the shrapnel from the Flash's body parts stuck Superman in the belly.
To me, it didn't seem like it was the shrapnel. To me, it seemed like he was pumping his arms running. And so when he ran through, the arm went up into his stomach as he flew through.
He sort of solidified. He was inside Superman's body. I think that's the. I think we're meant to understand he was vibrating so quickly, and then he stopped, and he happened to stop mid-phase.
Okay, I thought that he exploded, and that Superman just was like, "Oh well, shit," and then looked at.
It's possible that just wasn't what I got. That wasn't how I interpreted it.
Because
the original pitch, though, is the arc goes to leave. Zombie Superman, starts to fly up. John and Wonder Woman get ready to stop him, and instead of flying after the arc, he flies straight to the sun, just like he did, but he drains it like instantly, which means that
which I don't think he could do.
Has the ability to survive or anything. So it's basically it ends with everybody dying.
And it seems like this whole thing was meant to be just how much of a downer can this be?
Yeah, I think it was all about losing hope and lost hope. And then but then they obviously they changed it with the arc being able to get away. So
oh god, no, I'm looking at this and it looks like what happened is he hit the Flash, and it's actually two of his like fingers that are stuck in Superman's gut. And I was like, he's supposed to be impervious. I don't understand how that happened. If they would have said like, oh, it got in his eyes, like whenever he made mist of the Flash, like some of the blood got in his eyes, a la like 28 Days Later or something like that. I would have been like, okay, I get it, because they had said that it through the blood.
It feels like a suppository, what I mean, like, or whatever. If it was up the, where the super sun don't shine, I think I would have believed that a little more.
Or what it could have been, it was like what was it, what is the shrinky guy in DC? I'm not as familiar. Adam is it it would have like jumped up Superman's ass or something like that.
I mean,
bit his cells, because
Yeah,
did
because you
that
can
to-
even you can even see in the thing when he's flying through, the fingers are already in there. Like to me, it just was he was running so fast, like his arm would have been going up and just went into him.
Hmm.
What it looks like
well,
to me.
I don't know. I guess that makes more sense because it's like I thought Superman was impervious. I didn't know that this would have occurred, but
Well, why don't we let the viewers know in the comments? They let us know what they think.
yeah,
How
let
did
us know what.
Superman get-
How did Superman actually get hurt here? Because it's just,
Well, I was gonna say Superman may be quote unquote impervious, but as any DC fan knows, Superman could easily be killed at any time, and he should just go around and thank like half the DC universe that they don't instantly kill him.
Yes, like the many characters who they just decided.
Not
can-
not every time he sees Firestorm, he should just be like, "Thank you for not killing me instantly.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate it."
Any
Magic
magic
hero.
user is like, thank you for
Yeah,
not killing
yeah.
me. Thank you.
Thank
well,
you
if
for
that's the
not
case,
killing me.
Firestorm was alive towards the end of this, right?
Yeah.
I think that.
Yeah, I really
wouldn't
feel
have-
like he could have
wouldn't he have
done
been the
more.
person. Yeah, could have taken
Oh,
out Superman.
oh, Firestorm could have taken if Firestorm got infected, depending on how competently Tom Taylor wants to ride it, then it would have just been over.
Like
no
I
one,
feel like
would have survived.
Yeah.
So he can't transmute organics, right? But I'm like, if it's
So,
like a technical virus, digital,
That's a new rule because as you know, I've been reading a lot of the old original Firestorm. He did a couple of things with organics in that first series.
did he just? I like to think that Ronnie Raymond would have just like he would have transmuted like a girl who was like, "You're a 6, but you could be a 10." And he just sort of does like a transmute. He's like,
Because they had in the original in that original miniseries with Firestorm, he even said he can't change organics, and the professor's like, "You were doing things into flowers; those are organic," and he's like, "Oh, I guess it's a mindset thing."
yeah, it's all about Firestorm not understanding.
Well, it's kind of like the
powers.
Green Lantern thing too, right? Well, we read something recently that they're saying, "Oh yeah, that whole thing about the yellow thing that was not real. Neither was the wood.
Yeah.
That was just your imagination that caused that to be your weakness."
Yeah,
I was like,
here's
what?
what I want them to.
Why
Here's
would
what I
I
always
imagine that?
It'd be like
what I want,
scary clowns as the Green Lanterns. Fear.
Yeah.
Here's a viewer question, and I think this has been answered, but I'm very curious. What people think. Like, I always wondered if the Green Lantern truly understood how to create like food and like a beverage. Could he actually do it? Like, if you wanted to make
Could he like sustain himself? Make his own Baja Blast.
Color.
Well, I mean, but it
Isn't
would be hard. But the thing is, I would
it's
feel like
hard
with the Green
light.
Lantern, it'd be hard light, and as soon as he
Yeah.
stops concentrating, it disappears. So I don't know that it could have actual nutritional value.
Yeah.
Well, it would help with your diet. You know, you
That-
eat it. but
yeah,
it would
technically
help.
doesn't.
You
It
go,
would help
I'm full,
cut
but
up
it goes
your
right away.
gut.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
it's like eating glass.
Yeah, he
He
starts
says-
selling hard light sodas, all your favorite sodas, 0 calories, 0 anything. They disappear after a week.
Except you have green pea,
yes.
and that's about it. So
It's funny because his power. I don't know if y'all ever read the comic The Darkness from Image.
no, I
Yeah,
have not
yeah.
read that.
Done by Mark Silvestri. It was kind of in the Witchblade universe, you know.
Yeah.
He kind of had a not similar power, but he could conjure anything up that his imagination would let him. And so like the thing about the darkness is like if you pass it on, like let's say you sleep with a woman and you get her pregnant, the power jumps from you to the woman and to the child, and you die. And so there was like incentive not to have relations with real women. So the I can't remember his name.
Concubines.
Yes, they had talked about how older, because the darkness has all these little demons that he can conjure up, and they're like, well, you know what you could do is what the old darkness used to do. He just made a girl. And so like I think his name was like Johnny Estacado or whatever his name was. And he's like, and he was like saying, okay, so like what you need is a head, and then and he starts like conjuring up this woman from like the demon matter, and she's starting to like look disgusting. And he's all, oh yeah, it helps if you have like a complete understanding of anatomy. You have to know it down to like the blood, or they turn.
Is that what the Darkness video game was based off of?
Yes,
I had
and
no idea that was based off of a comic. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's by Mark
But
Silvestri, and it was
the video game is all about making it grow. It's like Weird Science. So,
Yeah, it's weird.
But yeah, that's what I always like. Yeah, could Green Lantern do something similar, but it wouldn't be gross? Like that was the point. He started making the woman, she grew like a second head, and a boob was like on his shoulder and all that. And he was like,
So-
no.
So would the darkness just not have like a contraceptive? Like it's all about
Yeah, couldn't he make his own little like
conception.
yeah.
yeah.
It's only if the child is conceived, right? I mean, if the
Yeah.
darkness never heard of the pull-out method. I mean, honestly,
How Jordan couldn't make a girl because the green light is an ancient entity and he likes them much younger.
he
Oh,
likes
yeah.
him. Even Leonardo DiCaprio's like, "Hey, Hal, come on, we can age him up a little bit."
Yes.
Oh, but
But anyway,
anyways.
I think on that note, I do have to hop off. But I did enjoy talking about DCeased, and because of this podcast, I read DCeased. I don't think I would have ever got around to reading it. So
No, H told me 4 years ago that it was you're gonna put it on your to read list.
I put lots of things on my to read list, and I don't.
I do not finish them.
I
Well,
don't ever finish them.
We have a strict to read list now, people. So in the future, we should be having more discussions like this regularly because I'm going to start enforcing this strict reading list.
And for viewers, if you have any ones that you want us to read,
Exactly.
let us know, and we will consider it. Probably reject it, but we will consider it. Anyway,
All right. Well, no H. Godspeed. Take it easy, man.
all right, later, guys.
Bye.
But yeah, this series I liked. To be honest, I don't think that the first 6 issues of DCeased are the most compelling thing I've ever read. I do prefer the last 2 books, The Dead Planet and here what is it called?
Yeah.
Gods here.
I'm not sure. I haven't got to that one yet because it's not fully out. I wanted to be able to read it all.
No, it's out. It's issue 8 is the last one. It just came out last Wednesday.
Correct, but I'm on DC Universe and Infinite Ultra, so I've still got another couple of weeks.
You refuse to buy the paper one, I see. Anyways,
but I did like Dead Planet even more so than the first one.
Yeah, and it gets even better whenever you start to get into the hero of what the hell it's called. Good Lord, I need to look this up because I'm just gonna keep calling it something that's not. When you get to the last one, I felt like that's where the book hit its stride or actually it hit its stride in Dead Planet, but the War of Undead Gods, there it is. That's where the book got particularly good, and it started started wrapping things up a bit better because, like y'all said, the 1 through 6 was just ended depressingly, and it was it did feel like Act 1 of a bigger book. I kind of almost wish that they would have done this as like a trade, just a trade and release it all at once, because if you just read the first book, you might go, well, I don't know. You might have been like, I don't really care for this, but I promise you, if you gave up in issues 1 through 6, don't go read the tie-ins. This is actually one that I can say. If you read the tie-ins, it's even much better because,
and by tie-ins, he means sequels.
They is Unkillables? Is that not a tie-in?
Unkillables is a tie-in, and A Good Day to Die is a tie-in.
Okay, so those are the only tie-ins for the original. Okay,
correct.
And Unkillables and A Good Day to Die are good. I say A Good Day to Die is probably better than Unkillables. Unkillables is just basically tells you how the villains got there. And I did like the part how Mirror Master was kind of like a bigger deal. And he was kind of like, oh shit, if he gets infected, it's like bad. And so I did like all that, and how Ravager got to the Poison Ivy, I guess Eden Garden or whatever it's called. I do like all that. And but like I said, this 1 through 6, it's good. It's not the best thing I've read. I think some of the stuff in it is a little as much as I like the idea that they got infected with the anti-life equation because it was connected to death or whatever. I did think it was kind of silly that it immediately became like now it's also in the blood, and if they bite or scratch you, and I'm like, that's for a zombie idea, it's novel, but I think on a little bit, I don't know. I was like that whole it's a technovirus that becomes a blood virus. That was kind of a
Well, I mean,
I
it
don't
was.
know.
I think what they're going for is it was both because it was done through Cyborg, who was both man and machine.
Okay, I guess if you're
Mhm.
saying it's because of that, that makes sense. But I wondered why it never really infected Cyborg. Really, I mean, infected him,
So,
but
so
it
I
didn't
can't
get to his
remember.
organic parts.
I can't remember if it was in like extra stuff or what, or if it was in like interviews. I can't remember where this comes from. So take it with a grain of salt. I remember reading somewhere that the idea was supposed to be that basically from the time Cyborg arrived until he met up with them when they were fighting Giganta was basically
Mhm.
him trying to recover his humanity. And that was
Hmm.
really him developing the cure, but he didn't realize it.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I
I don't
mean,
know.
there were
And you
panels
sort of
that he kind of looked messed up.
yes,
Like,
in the first, and you sort
Yeah.
of see that in the first like issue or two when it shows Cyborg, it shows him almost zombie like.
yeah.
And then by the time he shows up with back with Superman and them, he's
But
not
he knew
looking that
enough
way
to
anymore.
he could. I mean, and the zombies can talk. If you read to the end of the book, the zombies can talk because
Yes.
Wonder Woman talks to Cyborg before she snaps his head off, and
Right.
so we know they could talk. So he could have been like, I don't know, maybe because of his organic parts are not really living, or I guess they are living. I don't really know the ins and outs of
Yeah, I
Mr.
don't know. I do agree they didn't do enough to explain it through Cyborg, but I do
Yeah.
I do remember that them talking about how I want to say maybe how that was cut or
Uh-huh.
because I don't think I didn't reread Hope at World's End, so I don't think it was explored in that though. So I want to say it was an interview that was about the storyline that was cut was supposed to be about Cyborg losing struggling to maintain his humanity.
Yeah, because I don't really remember him having any problems with that. I just remember
Right,
that
that's
he
what I'm saying. But
was.
he wasn't in issue 2. I want to say he wasn't even in issue 3. Like that was supposed to be his storyline for those issues. Was him
Oh, so maybe there
overcoming
was
it.
supposed to be a tie-in that they just ended up cutting.
Maybe so. Because
Uh,
I think that's why he wasn't in issue 2 or 3 was because that was supposed to be his story and it got cut.
oh, okay.
Okay.
I see.
I'm reading the original pitch for this,
Uh-huh.
and it said how it was supposed to be just a like a technovirus, and how they would infect people is they would gather people up for like a timeshare situation and make them watch. it was really boring. They
Yeah,
said
so
they
they
just,
cut it.
yeah, they moved it to the
they-
blood.
They tricked people with free vacations to Aspen. You just have to listen to this time.
Just listen to this timeshare meeting. You'll get
Yeah.
entered into the winning.
But I really
would
enjoyed the first one. I guess probably more so than Ty. Like for me, what I really liked about it was, like I said at the earlier, just the flip of the switch of them taking a very common and used DC story intro and flipping it, and then still making it seem sort of general with Superman, and then flipping it again at the end. So I
Yeah.
kind of like the two little like plot twists of taking very common DC stories and then flipping them on their head.
Yeah, I agree because they made it so it wasn't like an Elseworld book. They seemed pretty much like this is your normal universe,
Right.
And they did seem like there was every issue had hope of some sort. Like,
Yeah.
we could get through this if we just do this, and they kept flipping it on us.
Yep.
Yeah, and
then-
that
and
does
I mean,
feel
all-
that feels very Walking Dead of them. Like it's like
all the way even to the end, really, with Cyborg realizing there's a cure and then dying.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well,
Well, does he die?
Not necessarily. Not yeah. No, maybe
Does he
dying.
die?
Maybe
You don't. You don't know. You don't know.
The light is still on in his eye as his head goes flying off.
Yeah, I mean, you might not know something secret that happens, but yeah, it was just I don't know. It just seemed kind of like a lot of times I'm not into the bummer comic books. That's why I dropped off of Walking Dead because it just became like an eternal bummer. It was like every turn
Yeah.
it was a bummer, and that's what it seemed
I
like
am
in
proud
here.
to say I did finish that.
You finished The Walking
I
Dead
should get
completely?
some kind of completely. I should get some kind of merit badge for that.
I do own them all. Does that count?
I think so. That should get some kind of points.
Some
there.
kind of credit. Some kind
I get
of
a
cred.
participation trophy for.
That's right.
That's right.
I kind of almost would have rather, Batman. The idea of Batman grabbing the Mr. Freeze suit before he was going to expire, so he had long enough. I was like, for the love of God, that was an awesome idea right there to keep him in that suit for a while. I didn't like that it didn't slow it down enough.
I know.
I wish he would have lasted longer because
I think they heard you and everybody else who said that, and eventually we'll probably get to it. But I'll just say DC versus vampires. He's a little bit smarter.
Okay, because I don't think Batman would have went down that fast. To me, like Alfred surviving that situation and Batman not was so strange. I was like, I would think that Batman would have survived. And the thing is, I know a little something about why Alfred survives because of the rest of the books, but I was like, I don't know. I think Batman should. I think it's what they wanted to do is go like, okay, kids. The kids are going to take over for a while, and that's they had to pass on the mantle to Damian. Yeah. They had to pass on the mantle to John, and
which they did, but then they're throwing Batman on the cover still, and you're like, no, he's already. I would have loved to see more Batman like that. That would have been awesome.
I will say this came out very close to the time after they aged up John Kent. So it was also super nice to have a series where John Kent wasn't aged up.
Yeah, I miss the dichotomy of Damian and John. So.
Yeah, because it was, and the thing is, they have a pretty good rapport in this book. I haven't. This is the first comic I've read with just those two in it and having them talking. I didn't expect them to be such friends.
Oh yeah, that's why Super Sons was so popular. Like that's why there was such an outcry against them aging up.
Yeah, because they were good together.
Yeah, I liked him in this book. I thought they were good together. They're good, to be honest. They're good all the way to the end. They both make it to the end, and it's good. But I was a little bit just a little bit perturbed. I understand they had to kill Superman, they had to kill Wonder Woman, they had to kill all the adults basically so that these kids could shine more. But I was like, I wish they wouldn't. I wish they would have given him just a little bit, like, just to if not to prolong the tension, because it was like, oh well, everybody's flipping dead except for Superman. Obviously, Superman pretty much makes it to the I think the 5th issue, and then he bites it.
Yeah.
Well, then you would have hated G5.
Yes. Good thing it got 5G. Good thing it got
5G. Yeah.
I will say that this was also I will say this was the series, me really enjoying this and then Dead Planet, of how Tom Taylor writes Jonathan Kent, because very slight spoiler for Dead Planet, but it takes place years later. So Jonathan Kent is a bit older. And so seeing Tom Taylor writing aged up John Kent. So Tom Taylor's the writer for all of the John Kent Superman stories. And I feel like he's done a fantastic job with it. Like they've all felt very natural, and he's felt like his own unique character in it. And I don't know that I would have 100% even given those a try if they weren't written by Tom Taylor and he hadn't done Dead Planet.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't even pay attention to who wrote Dead Planet, but I did. Like I said, I did like the interaction between the two. John Kent was. I just like that it's not. I like that there wasn't a a heavy focus on like the stupid parts of John Kent, like the who's he having sex with? I don't give a shit. I really don't.
That wasn't anything back then.
I'm glad that I'm glad he was a child in this. And when I first saw him in this book, I was like, oh hell, this was my second foray to reading John Kent, and I was like, oh god, this is gonna suck. I can already tell. And so I went into it, and then after a while, I was like, oh, actually, no, this character is pretty good. I don't know what. He's a lot younger than I know him now because I've read some of the recent Action Comic stuff, and I was like, I don't miss I thought it was gonna be like, oh man, where's Connor? I'd rather have Connor here, but I didn't. I didn't think that he was a bad Superman whenever he had to take over. I thought he was great, and Damian did a good job.
I was gonna say that's why I was gonna say so Tom Taylor he does John Kent Superman. He also does he's done Nightwing for about 25, 30 issues now. He's been juggling a few different series, but I feel like they've all been extremely good.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, other than that, I just in the oh god, the other thing is like they now I did talk about how they it wasn't because he's a child. His sexuality wasn't up in front. But dude, the whole thing about like Poison Ivy and what's her head Harley Quinn and the Pied Piper and Aria and or however you say that person's name. I just was like, good God, do we care about this? I was like, it doesn't even need to be a part of the story, but they had to make it such a focus. I'm like, why is every book I read now about like I'm reading Gotham Knights. What is it called? Not Gotham Knights Steel or whatever, or is it Dark Knight Steel?
Oh yeah, the medieval one.
And every single book that it seems like series I got into is going to have Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. They're like, yes, they're in love, and I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. If this is the only, why is this the only like trait that these two characters have anymore? Harley Quinn's just like a peanut gallery for like, she's kind of like what she plays in the show. I mean the Dark Knight Steel. She's just like a court jester now. She doesn't really do anything except for be Poison Ivy's girlfriend. And I'm like, can't y'all just make her like more of a fleshed out character than her just being her girlfriend? Because
you need to read the Black Label Harley books that came out recently. Incredible as far as fleshing her out. And so like, I mean,
okay, good. Because
some of the best stuff I've read in a while.
It's all they do now, at least in these two books. I'm just talking about these two series that I've read, DCeased and Dark Knight Steel.
I will say in DCeased, I don't really feel like they had it that much. That was more in the, I guess, Hope at World's End. Because they didn't really get into it in the actual main DC.
No. What I'm saying is like you saw Harley Quinn. She meets up with Poison Ivy. She goes to kill she goes to talk to the Joker, and then they fuck off back to the what is it?
They fight
the garden,
Birds of Prey, and
the Birds of Prey, and then they go to the garden, and that is it. And then every time you see Harley Quinn after that, she's just like, "Hi guys, I'm Poison Ivy's girlfriend," and you're all, "What else are you gonna do?" Nothing. I'm just Poison Ivy's girlfriend. I'm like, give her something else to do. She's just, you are not just this. Like the funny thing about that whole thing is like, you're whoever you like is not you. You can do other things, and that's what I kind of I find like that almost like they treat the character sexuality as their personality, and I would rather it be I have stuff to do because I'm a character in this book rather than just a check mark or a checklist.
I do agree, but I would argue that Harley that's been her character since she was conceived. It's always whose girlfriend she is her character.
Oh no, it's boring.
I agree. I'm not saying it's quality. I'm saying it's not anything. But I mean, she was debuted as Joker's girlfriend, and that's
Joker's girlfriend. But remember, whenever in the cartoon, whenever like it was Harley and Poison Ivy's day out, and they had like a crime spree and all that. That was like a character arc that I could go, oh, these are two best friends, and they're like we're throwing off the chains of the boys that are in our life, and we're doing our own thing, and we have like this arc and I felt like that was good, like that was something that they were doing on their own. And in this one, it just feels like they're like we're girlfriend and girlfriend, and I'm like that's not a story, y'all. No, they went and they created the garden, and then that was it. They didn't do anything else. And I was agree like,
that it's very one note, especially here. But I wish
there would have almost been some interaction between them and Swamp Thing. The Swamp Thing does show up later, and I kind of wish there was some like push and pull there or something. Maybe Swamp Thing interacts with Poison Ivy because he's not happy with something she's doing, or well, I don't know, just something else to do, because it didn't seem like they did anything other than create the garden and live there, and that's it.
So I'll say if you want a good Harley book, read the Black Label Joker Harley Criminal Sanity. It is a very different origin story of Harley. It's not her falling in love or anything like that. This is about her the very, very, very high level overview of what that book is about. Is Harleen is obviously a psychologist, and this is right when the Joker is started, and it's her working with the Gotham PD to try to figure out who the serial killer is. And it is
okay.
Really
see, that would be cool. That would be cool, because right now I just think it's a little boring. That's all. I'm like, golly, dude, give these characters
that is a downfall of Harley's character, depending on who's writing her. A lot of people focus on that
because even like the Pied Piper. Okay, so he has a job in this. I felt like they gave him more to do than they gave Harley Quinn. And I was like, yeah, well, he's the same boat as Harley Quinn here. Why didn't y'all give her anything to do? It seemed like you gave him more to do. And that other chick, I can't remember her name, who was with REI or whatever that person's name was, Area. Or
that was all the digital stuff, though. That which they always focus more on that sort of stuff because those are more aimed towards teenagers. They're digital first comics.
I don't know, but I felt like they suck.
If you ever see digital first on a comic, you probably will not like it because it's going to have some aspect of relationship stuff.
I can't get into that, dude. I really don't care. To be honest, the relationships I cared about in these books was more the family relationships than cared about anybody who was dating who or who was. I mean, Dinah and they did have some interaction between Dinah and Oliver that was, I guess, okay. But their relationship is so old that it was like, oh yeah, Lois and Clark and all that. And but I was more interested in like Alfred's relationship with Damien and Lois's relationship with John. Those were like the more meaningful things that I was like, well, the fact that they're talking together about something, it just builds on what they're doing, you know.
I was gonna say that's I think that's more of a thing of age, being the age we are. We're more interested in the, some of those type of relationships over the who's dating who. And the who's dating who storylines are the ones that are appealing to teenagers.
It's boring, dude. It's so boring. But
and that's why we're middle-aged mutants.
Yeah, that's why we're middle-aged mutants. I don't care what flavor of genital you like, whatever. But for the love of God, give them something else to do. Give them something else to do other than just swooning over some other idiot. That's my takeaway. This book it's worth reading, but stick with it. Read the whole thing because it gets even better than the last two books. And the tie-ins aren't bad. The two tie-ins, a Good Day to Die and Unkillables, are good. Unkillables is fine. I would say it's fine. A Good Day to Die is better. But I would say I give it a. I'd say I'd give the first six. I'd give them like a 7, maybe a 6.5. I don't know what you guys think.
I'd go 7.
Bodz is opposed to giving.
He's got his calculator. Give him a moment. He's adding.
7.9.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right. High praise.
All right. I like that they just threw Booster Gold in there, to be honest with you. Just the fact they had one issue with
Booster Gold. I just felt bad. You know? I just felt bad for him because he was like, "All right, I'm fading out of existence.
I don't feel so good."
Yeah,
I personally am not a huge fan of the Hope It Ends World or Hope It World's End version that they came out with, but I will say that one automatically gets a bump for me because they have one issue with crypto in it. So that's my
that was cool.
Like, oh yeah, the crypto issue, cool. Yeah, perfect 10. Perfect 10.
They had Ace, Crypto, Bobo, and then some horse.
Yeah, it was so Supergirl had a super horse named Comet. This wasn't it. This just was another horse happened to be named Comet.
Anyways, go ahead, check it out, guys. It's on digital. It's also in back issues, and I believe there is a collected slipcase cover coming out for this. So, go ahead and check it out. And we'll move on to the next topic, which is let me get there first. All these screens. Mandalorian season 3. Bodz is going to tell us about it. Bodz, you have the floor.
And you know what's sad is Noah had some stuff to talk about it too, but he left.
I know he's always leaving us high and dry.
I'll pretend to be No H for this, and I can add in the exact comments he was going to make. Don't worry.
Okay. What were you going to tell me about it? He mentioned before the podcast is I want to say something. I'll save it for the show.
And he don't worry. He slipped that to me. I 100% know what it is. You start talking, Bodz, and I will.
You'll jump in
with No H's
fill it in.
So I'm not gonna lie to you. This season, I wasn't like, every episode I had to watch, immediately to feel like something was going to be spoiled. I kind of did.
I know way to agree with Bodz on that.
See, and then Noah agrees with me too. But season 1 and 2, they were amazing, and I was like that. I think maybe just my work schedule, I didn't get to watch it immediately, but this is something I watch with my kids, and the weirdest thing, and I said this during the last episode, and I don't want to say anything, so we don't have to put a spoiler alert. I'm not going to say anything.
Oh, I was about to hit the spoiler alert.
You don't have to say anything there, but I think it's so weird that this is. I'm one of those kids that liked Boba Fett, and for no reason at all besides that he looked cool.
He looked cool.
There really, if you really think, but there's no reason to like him. Like he doesn't really do anything super spectacular, but look like a badass. But I was thinking, I said this to my kids. I was like, if you would have told me when I was a kid, I would be watching a show about a bunch of Boba Fetts, fighting the Empire. I was like, no way. That's how I know the world's revolved around me, because that's what I wanted to see as a child.
You're in the Matrix. You don't even know.
I'm in the Matrix. I don't even know. But the show ends good if you're very much into like Mandalorian lore and stuff like that. They do combine the tribes fight together, the Empire.
I know H was disappointed that Pedro Pascal kept his shirt on the entire season.
Thank God for that. I'm sick of him.
He did keep his mask on the entire time, because he had to get this season was about becoming back into that fold of the sect of Mandalorians that don't remove their mask and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you've got Bo-Katan, who was in the other sect where they can just take it on and off and stuff like.
Well, why doesn't he just join the other sect? That's what I don't get.
Yeah, he was raised in this one, so he was just.
Oh, okay. So he sticks with.
But what's weird
is
like, if you watch the other seasons, he was rescued by the other sect. So I don't know. It is a little confusing. A lot of good, Baby Yoda parts. They, if you remember, IG-11, the droid from the first season, that died saving them all and stuff. He comes back, and there's a lot of good stuff with that. But all in all, I think it was a good season. It literally could end right now, and I'd be happy. But I did read that Jon Favreau said that it is going to work into stuff from Ahsoka that's coming out. So if you're a fan of Clone Wars, which me and my son watched it, and we're still watching it because we never finished it, but we started watching that, and we know a lot of these characters from it. So this is like your heyday of Star Wars if you're a fan of Clone Wars. So
I know I look at a lot of the characters in this, and they're like what's her name, Bo-Katan or whatever.
Yeah,
her helmet just was like, it looks cartoony to me. It's just because she's from a cartoon, right?
She's from a cartoon, and what's cool is Katie Sackhoff was the voice of her in the cartoon.
Oh, okay, well that's cool. I every time I look at her, I was like, she kind of looks like she's right out of the Clone Wars or something. I don't know. Yeah. I didn't know anything about that. I just was like, her helmet does not appear to be like. If I was to say it was straight out of the Star Wars movies, I would say no, it's out of the cartoon.
Yeah, they do. Once you start watching it, there's a lot of different like variants to the Mandalorian helmets and stuff.
Well, I saw the first season, and it was fine. I heard nothing. I mean, I kind of got mad whenever they shit canned what's her head.
Cara Dune.
Yeah, I got mad at that because I was like, that lady's awesome. She should have stayed on the show.
Yeah, she's great on the show, and she does get mentioned and stuff. Nothing bad. It's like they go, she went off and is doing great things. So
Gina Carano, that's her name, Gina Carano.
Gina Carano.
I got mad because she didn't do anything wrong. This is retarded.
I liked her a lot. She's awesome on the show, and it's you don't get a lot of characters that are girls that like look like they could really beat you up. I believed the thing she was doing because she's UFC.
Yeah, she's fighter. She's UFC fighter. Yeah, so I think she got totally screwed. That's why I didn't watch but maybe an episode of the second season, and I wasn't even interested in the third.
I'm glad they didn't just say that she died off screen. Yeah. No, they said she's doing good and
returning to her home planet.
That's exactly what I thought was going to happen. But there's fans of her. There are girls who dress up and cosplay her and stuff. So don't steal that from them. That's
I heard that though in this season, this is just from like reviews and stuff. That this was like the season of screwing around. Like they would be like, "Oh my God, you could have removed like 10 minutes of this episode and it would have been fine." Is that the case?
There is a lot of like just going places, and it feels like they're just kind of going like saying almost like goodbye to everybody, kind of like saying, this is where you are now. Hey, these are how things are going. But I don't know. I kind of like that. And like even the end, they had some stuff at the end. The end kind of kept going for that episode, and they were just like revisiting things and like.
Well, no, like I said,
like,
no. What I'm saying is like the people were saying like they would have these moments where you're like, are you just wasting time? Kind of like remember whenever Richard A. Waddy he goes we had to do as much slow motion in the episodes as possible. A lot of people that I read because I did a little research about what people thought about the season. The chief complaint was like, oh my God, how many times are you gonna slow walk somewhere or walk back from here to there? Is there really a lot of that?
Well, I don't know, and I'm going to say that I am getting old, and I am falling asleep during things, and I did fall asleep in the Jack Black and Lizzo episode. So,
I don't blame you for that.
But I rewatched it, and it was fine. I'm just
man, you're a glutton for punishment.
But I don't know, maybe. It's kind of one of those things, though. I don't want it to end, though. So I'm kind of fine with just.
You're fine with them slow walking.
Show me more. But I want to put this on the.
Go ahead.
I want to put this on the record. The one thing that's bothered me this whole show was, from first season, he gets all the Beskar armor, like his almost all of it is replaced except for his like one of his thigh guards, and then it's still kind of messed up. Still, I guess they didn't have enough Beskar for that. Fine, whatever. Season 2 rolls around, and then he has some kind of weird Duraplate steel thing, not Beskar, on there. And so there's one leg piece of armor that's not the same as the rest, and it bugs the crap out of me. And I thought maybe the armor would give him that extra piece. I know I'm not alone. I can't be the only person that bugs. Especially people who are cosplayers out there, and they're like, I got to find this other weird piece for it. But
no, we knew this would bother you, Bodz. Anything that's like an inconsistency will it'll bug Bodz forever.
And if there was like an episode where like it made sense, and he's all like, the old one got blown off, and he's all like, I got to replace it with this, and it's important because of this. And no, it's just he shows up next season. It's like, oh, he's got a different weird like.
So I lost one of my greaves. What do you want? I'm sorry.
Well, while we're entering things into the record, IronAge just want to say that the Mandalorian Saxon clan is the best clan, and if anybody disagrees, I urge them to talk to me about it in length, interrupting me multiple times in person whenever you can.
When you see him, remember that, folks. You heard it from No H's mouth himself.
Well, one thing I've always wondered is like, there's rumors that a lot of the stuff that was going to be in the Boba Fett movie, the scrap Boba Fett movie that, I guess Solo didn't do well, and they go, sorry, Boba Fett, were things that ended up in the Mandalorian. I'm just wondering what it was. Was Boba Fett going to find a little baby Yoda? I don't know.
Now, is this supposed to be? I always thought this was supposed to be like a lone wolf and cub.
It's exactly that. Like
that's what it is.
Yes,
yeah, that's what it reminds me of. So okay. I'm not the only one who thought that. No, I don't hate. I like Lone Wolf and Cub. That's what it always felt like to me, and I was like, are they doing that? Hopefully, that's kind of a purposeful thing.
No, I'm sure it is, but it is. It's all good stuff. Like I
just don't like Pedro Pascal. I can't stand him. So that's the.
I don't know. I don't know why you hate him. Is it just he's the it guy?
I hate the it guy, and I hate him. I just don't. I don't like him. I think he's a crybaby bitch. I've seen him on stuff where he's bawling his eyes out, and I just can't respect men who do that. I also I think it's funny how I've said this before. I was like, he wasn't. I think he did still go by Pedro Pascal, but he was like all-American hero boy in Buffy, and then now he grows a little the little Narcos mustache.
He did have a different name in Buffy, but it was Pedro something.
I think it was like Ramirez. I don't think it was Pascal. I can't remember what it was, but I just think it's funny how he was all American boy whenever it was like convenient, And now, like I said, he grows his little Narcos Coke mustache, and he's Pedro Pascal. And I was like, that annoys me. You should just stayed Pedro Pascal, dude. I don't know. I just can't. I don't know. It annoys me. It annoys me when you act like when you're a minority when it's convenient. I tell you, just it doesn't matter. Nobody cares, dude. No, I've been minority my whole life, and nobody gives a shit. It's so stupid, and that kind of annoys me. That whole like the switching it on and switching it off. It sucks. It's stupid.
He was credited in Buffy as Pedro Balmaceda.
Balmaceda. Okay.
Which his full name is.
I think it's his mom's last name or whatever.
Balsameda Pascal. It's his middle name. Pedro and Balsameda are both middle names. His actual name is Jose Pascal.
Balsameda is the whitest name I've ever heard.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the character. I'm talking about the character he played.
I actually watched that Buffy episode like literally like 3 weeks ago, and it's just so funny because he just plays such a nerd. Like the whole idea of his character is he's so unlikable and so bad at making friends that vampires kill and kidnap him because no one will notice.
Yeah, I don't know. And plus, he's in everything, and it annoys me. That's why I'm starting to like hate Chris Pratt too.
No, don't hate Chris Pratt.
Stop being in everything, dude. Stop being in everything.
That's just making money.
It pisses me off because I'm like, we're talking about.
You know what they say the difference is between Americans and communists is that Americans can root for people who win on shows like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and we can be happy for them, and communists can't because they don't feel like they work for it. You're sounding awful communist right now.
No, it's not that. It's not that. It feels like a lack. It feels like a lack of meritocracy.
Tattoo?
I am right of freaking Ronald Reagan, dude. The problem I have is like I know why they're in everything. It's that EQ quotient or whatever they call, or whatever quotient they call it. They get that number up high enough and they start putting them in everything. They talked about this during the trial of the civil trial between Johnny Depp and his ex-wife.
Amber
Heard. They talked about this, like if your quotient is high enough, it's just this little I don't know, it's a statistic that they come out with. If it's high enough, they'll put you in everything because you're likable, you're family friendly, you're this, you're that, and there's all this, like they add all this stuff together, and it seems to me like it's not like were you the best person for that part? Maybe not, but your likability rating is so high, it trumps all that shit.
But and I'm like, Chris Pratt fit into that because like he was voted like the most hated of the Chris's.
You're voted number one though.
They didn't put me in there.
No, I just that's what I know is behind all that. That's why because it's like I said with
Mario. Once again, Ty, you have a problem with somebody casting somebody based off marketability and making money, which is capitalism.
Okay, I'm gonna every time you talk, I'm gonna mute you. Okay. No, what I hate is that you get put into a movie because you're the it boy. You get cast as something like Mario when you shouldn't have been. Mario should have been played by Maniscalco. Maniscalco would have done
only
a perfect.
Like a handful of people know who that is.
It doesn't matter. He was better for the part. He was like he's the quintessential. He's quintessentially the New Yorker. Like, hey, get out! Well, I'm walking here. He's that guy, and he's funny. He's quick on his feet. You know, he's a jokey guy. He was, to me, who I thought, like, if I was going to cast Mario, that's who I would have cast. And then, like, for Joel, for example, Pedro Pascal is not Joel. If you played the game, you're like, no, it's going to be somebody more. Hell, even if they would have picked Chris Pratt, it would have been better than that. But he was, like, you see what I'm saying? He makes more sense in that part than Pedro Pascal. But right now, Pedro Pascal's the it boy for HBO and Disney and all that. So they put him in everything. And the same thing for Chris Pratt. He's the boy. They put in the kids stuff now because I guess that he's popular with the kids or whatever.
I disagree on Pedro Pascal not being right for Joel. I thought he did a fantastic job.
No, he is not Joel, dude. He is.
He was so great as just. I mean, he played it very realistic as an older.
He's not Joel though. if
No,
you,
I mean,
you play the
nothing's gonna
game,
be-
right?
Yeah, I played the game about 4 or 5 times.
Okay, I played the game about 5 times, and
Yeah.
I do not. I never would in the million years would have picked Joel. I mean, Pedro Pascal as Joel. I would have said
100%.
more.
I would have.
I would have
Pedro
picked
Pascal for Joel over Chris Pratt.
No, I would have picked if it was me. I would have picked who was the guy who played Thanos. I forget his name.
Oh yeah, Josh Brolin would have been good.
Josh Brolin. I
Josh
would have
Brolin
picked
would've
somebody
been
like Josh Brolin because he's older. He's still kind of a muscular guy. He fits the Joel kind of like aesthetic, and he's a good actor. So
Yeah,
I would have picked.
I feel like Josh Brolin would be good. I just take issue with you saying Chris Pratt would have been a better choice for Joel because I do not think Chris Pratt would have
better than Pedro Pascal because he could have. I don't know. Joel seems to me like he's a Southern boy. He's at least in the game because he's from Austin, and he seems like a Southern boy to me, and like he's not Hispanic either. That's the other thing. In the game, he was just some white guy from Texas, and I'm like that's why I was like they need somebody who can do like a little Southern, And I've heard middling things about Pedro Pascal's accent when it comes to Joel. It's like kind of in and out.
Have you not watched it?
No, I refuse to watch it. I hate Pedro Pascal with a passion.
I don't accept any of your opinions because he blew it out of the water.
You can say whatever you want, but I don't agree with you either because I have taste. But
well, mine is based off experience and viewing it. Yours is
good for you. Good for you. If you want to just like drink down all the crap that HBO wants to like pour down your throat, go for it because I'm not reading. But I can't stand the It Boy in anything. I cannot stand it. It just boils my blood.
But there's no real. But you're boiling your blood because he's the It Boy. You're not even giving it a chance.
I don't have to give it a chance. If I don't like the actor, I've seen him in Game of Thrones. I saw him on the HBO series. What was it? The Dragon thing. I saw him on there. I've seen him in the Equalizer 2. I saw him in what's another stupid thing that he's been in? I saw him in The Mandalorian, and every time I'm like, oh, I cannot stand this guy. I'm sick of seeing him on stuff. And then they're like, he's gonna be Joel, and I was like, oh, just shoot me. I don't want to see this.
I think you would be surprised if you watched it.
I'm not gonna. I've already played the game too. Everybody tells me, well, it's not that much different from the game. I'm like, yeah,
it's.
I don't care.
Okay, then. I mean, there are differences, but it's very.
Well, we've. I don't know if you watched our previous shows, Jeremy, but we've talked about this, and they're like, yeah, you're not missing a whole lot. Not quite that different. So going off of what Bodz and No H are telling me, but
it's not that different from the game by any means.
The takeaway from me here is that if you put the It Boy in something, it's more likely going to keep me from watching it because I'm sick of seeing the same face over and over and over and over. Let's let somebody who actually embodies the part play that character, and maybe we'll get something better out of it. Because right now, I guarantee you're just getting Pedro Pascal as Joel, and he's probably just playing his self, like just about every one of these actors do.
I do not feel like he did that at all in last.
Because in the Mandalorian, in the Mandalorian, it was kind of like
I stopped watching halfway through season 2. Like I agree with you on that, but I in the
Mandalorian he was just like I liked it better when he kept his mask on. I can tell you that. I was like, because at first I couldn't I didn't really recognize the voice that good. I was like, yeah, it's whatever. He's fine. I was like Bodz. I was like, oh, a Boba Fett like thing, and I was like, oh, that's awesome because Boba Fett didn't get enough screen time whenever he was on Star Wars. Mm-hmm. If you didn't watch the cartoon, you didn't see much more because it was the special Bodz, right? It was the Christmas special that you got to get like a little bit of
that where they had the Boba Fett cartoon,
like just a little bit of a snippet more about what Boba Fett was about. And then you had the cameos he did in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and that was it. So I was like super stoked to watch something with more of the Mandalorian stuff in it. And then when I found out it was a Boba Fett, I was like, less excited, but still, it's gonna be awesome. Watched the first season, I was like, it was all right. And then all the controversy and stuff happened with Gina Carano, and I was like, less excited for season 2. and then just kind of dropped off the show entirely. And then you start seeing him in other stuff all the time, everywhere. And I'm like, ugh, I'm done. Pick somebody else, for the love of God. Sick of seeing the same people in everything.
I will say though, I do 100% disagree with Chris Pratt. I agree with
It's
Josh
also-
Brolin being a better choice, but not Chris Pratt. Like
It's like, you know who's another example of this? Tom Holland. They made him Drake, Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me? You know why they did it? Because he's the fucking It Boy. And I was like, oh no. He should not have played that character. If anything, it should have been given to a 20-year younger Nathan Fillion. That's who should have played that character. But he's not the It Boy.
De-aged him or
De-aged him or something.
Or even Nolan North.
Or pick somebody else. Or in that movie, what was the Solo? That guy that played Solo, he was the It Boy at the time. I think his career is kind of like flittered to nothing. But there was a kid they showed that looks exactly like Harrison Ford, and he does the most epic Harrison Ford impression. And he was in that movie Age of Adeline or whatever. And I was like, whoa, that is kind of uncanny and incredible. But you know why they didn't put him in it? Because he wasn't the It Boy at the time, so he didn't get any play. That's where I'm going with this. I want the people that should play the part to get it. I want the meritocracy, not he just checks all the boxes and here's the EQ quotient or whatever they're calling it that he matches to. I would rather see that, because I think in the end you'd have a better movie for it.
It's very possible. I agree 100% with Tom Holland and the Nathan Drake, which the box office also agreed on that one. But yeah, like I said, I do think Pedro Pascal ended up doing a very good job as Joel. I didn't like him in Kingsman, hated him in Wonder Woman, hated him in a lot of things, but I did think he ended up doing a good job as Joel.
Well, whatever. Good luck.
All right.
Just keep watching him. He'll they'll keep putting him in stuff. Galaxy Quest. I don't know. Sorry, that was like my hot button topic. It was been in my hot button topic for I think we've had 3 episodes where I was like, fuck this guy. I'm sick of them seeing him in stuff. It's just I hate that. I absolutely hate that.
They're going to keep putting him in stuff until he starts having box office failures. As long as he's profitable, I mean, he's gonna get put in stuff.
I just can't wait till he beats some I don't know, choke some lady like Ezra Miller or something. Then they'll take him out. Apparently, that's the only thing that gets you kicked out.
No, not Ezra Miller. Apparently, he's untouchable. I can't believe that the Flash movie was still progressing after all the stuff that was happening on that.
Yeah, but do you think they're going to do another Flash after that?
Oh, I don't. But the fact that they hadn't even fully finished everything with it and still pushed the movie through just blew my mind. I was like, they must have crazy confidence in that movie to not cancel it.
I just think it's strange that they shit canned Batgirl, but they won't do it to Flash.
That's what I'm saying. Like the fact that they were looking for ways to save money through tax stuff, and they didn't do the Flash. I was like, they must have crazy confidence in that film.
We'll see.
Well, moving on to Galaxy Quest, which looks like it's going to star Pedro Pascal.
As replacing Tim Allen.
I will smash my television. I'm not gonna, if that's the case. I am looking forward to a Galaxy Quest TV show, but we had a little bit of a small conversation about it whenever we were on there it is right there, when we were on Discord, to say that it was basically the cast that made that movie.
Really, yeah, for sure. And the fact that it says it's finally happening, I mean, this has been in the works for a long time now.
You might be a little late.
To a Galaxy. Yeah, you may have missed it there, but man, I watched Galaxy Quest just the other day, and it still holds up. It's
yes, it's still a great movie. And does it have like an uphill battle in a world where Orville exists? Because
and that's what I was wondering too. Do we need it with like Orville? Like Orville kind of filled that spot with, a good Star Trek, facsimile, but with some humor.
I don't think it's as funny. I don't think it's as funny as Galaxy Quest was, because it's not what it's trying to be.
No, it's being serious. Yeah,
Orville treads the line between homage and parody. But Galaxy Quest was full on parody, and and an homage. I mean, there was stuff that was homage to it, but I just it's kind of a sad thing that this happened so late, because if they would have, I tell you what, if this would have happened, what we saw Galaxy Quest, it's almost like 15 years old at this point, right? 1999.
It's over 20. It's
good
24 years
God.
old.
Yeah.
If they would have done that right after Galaxy Quest, done a TV show, oh my God, I would have been way into it.
Yeah.
It'd have been awesome, because that would have been my jam right there. That's right up my alley. Star Trek parody. Awesome.
I was
I don't
just
know if you know
surprised with.
this.
Go ahead, Bodz.
Well, I didn't know if y'all know this, but they originally were trying to get the cast of real Star Trek to do this.
Really?
And make it kind of
really?
a funny parody where they're playing themselves and they get into like a real situation. And I for some reason it got denied. So they just go, we're going to make our own thing up then. We'll keep the story, but it's just
I know
gonna be
there's a some sort of docu-series on this, or not. It's just a one movie documentary about how they came about and made this show. I'm sorry, this movie. And from what I hear, it had an uphill battle from like the beginning. So
I was just surprised it was being done on Paramount, since it is such a Star Trek spoofy and stuff like that. Like, I'm surprised they'd want to risk, confusion of their brands, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, but
having them all on the same.
I mean,
thing.
it's its own iconic thing at this point. There's not a whole lot of people that you can't say Galaxy Quest to, and they won't go, "Oh yes, Galaxy Quest."
Well, people over the age of like 25, maybe 25 to 30.
Oh yeah, I don't know what to say for the millennials. I don't. All I know.
You gotta really put things into perspective. I was talking to a grown woman about The Office, and I was like, that came out like 2004, and she's like, I was 2, and I was like, oh God, yeah.
Forget
so
about
like,
that.
there's a lot of people that just won't know it from just not being alive.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, the only thing that I was a little iffy about when I was looking through the articles on this, was that it didn't seem like the writer and the guy who's producing it and creating it had anything to do with the original movie.
Oh, well, that's not good.
It's like if Tim Allen's in it, it's going to be like a little cameo. I'm an admiral or something, or I don't.
It's he did work on like so these are the sort of the credits for the guy who's doing it, which is Mark Johnson. He's most known. He was the producer of Rain Man, obviously great movie back, 80s movie. But as far as like recently type stuff that he's done, he did the Breaking Bad movie, which I've never seen. I don't know if it's any good or not. El Camino.
It's okay.
But he did
the Jesse Pinkman, whatever.
Yeah. And then he did that failed TV show Mayfair Witches, which I don't know if any of y'all saw any of that, but it was not that great.
The Mayfair Witches. Did that already go under?
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh wow. Where was I?
And he did from a few years ago that movie Logan Lucky, if you remember that. It was sort of like a car type movie.
Yeah.
But like he hasn't, like, to me, the fact that this is the person doing it gives me slight pause on, like, obviously he was a producer of Breaking Bad, which was huge, but
it should give you pause that it's 24 years it's like 24 years later.
Yeah. So
this is going to be woke as shit. It's going to be.
He worked. I won't say he had no connection to Galaxy Quest, because he did. He just was not one of the writers. He wasn't anything on there. He was a production assistant.
But he's the only one who's still alive, so he has.
He was a cut. Yeah, he was like a gaffer or a like a junior journeyman gaffer or whatever.
So the article I was looking at is wrong. It shows him as one, not the executive producer, but a producer, not a production assistant. I apologize.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, he was a coffee boy. He just showed up to get to their coffee.
Tim
Allen's like,
make a TV show of this.
Tim Allen's like, did you spit in this? Well, it's sad though that Alan Rickman will not ever be able to do a cameo. The
AI technology and deep fakes. Don't say never.
Neither will the black guy. Well, the black guy would. I forget his name.
Daryl Chill Mitchell. He's in Walking Dead. Fear the Walking Dead.
In a wheelchair.
In a wheelchair. Yeah, his character's in a wheelchair. And
Okay,
how much
well,
did you
um,
see Laredo walk around? He can sit down after the whole thing.
Well, he did break
Get
a
in
leg.
on that.
And didn't he have? Didn't he have like a? No, he had a broken arm. It was a broken arm that he
Laredo?
had in the. Yeah, Laredo.
Oh, okay.
Because remember, he like flies over the console and he's like, my arm, and like they
Yes,
take him to
yeah.
medical quarters. Okay, so
Yeah.
I was thinking it was a broken leg, but that was actually Balthazar or whatever his name is. The main
Balthazar got the leg.
he
when
broke a leg.
was-
Yeah.
when they're
So
torturing him.
Take this with a grain of salt, as it's from the same article that referred to him as a production assistant. But it says they tried to do a Galaxy Quest, The Journey Continues TV series in 2015 that didn't get picked
Yeah.
up.
That's what I'm saying. I remember that. I remember it being a thing back then. I was like excited about it. But it's like we're never going to get like my favorite guy, Sam Rockwell, is not going to be in it.
Oh
He's too
no,
big for
God!
that. Guy is
But you
too
know what?
big.
But you know what? He is so awesome. I think he would do it.
Just to
He would
show
do
up
it.
in it.
He should have played Joel. Damn it! All right, I love Sam Rockwell. He was a great
Yeah.
actor, and he
Man,
should have. He was awesome.
We're saying all these things like like that's not going to happen. Like let's think best case scenario. Tim Allen does TV shows.
Yeah,
What?
Tim.
What?
Yeah, Tim Allen. Yeah, do it.
He did Last Man Standing, and that was awesome. And then like
I don't
the
think
very
Sigourney
least-
Weaver would do it at this point, but I
She
think
might do she might do a cameo.
cameo.
She's not-
Yes,
she's not
I
over
think Sam
cameo.
Rockwell is cool enough a guy. He would at least pop in from time to time. I think he
Yeah.
would. He's that
I
cool
think
of a
so.
guy. But and
And
Tony
Tony
Shalhoub,
Shalhoub,
he
he's
was
on
on USA all the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
he could
Yeah,
pop
he-
on
he
there.
might-
I'm
he
sure
might pop
if
in
you
there.
told these guys there was a big enough payoff and it was like a steady gig that they could just pop in and out as needed, they would do it. I think they would do it, especially Tony
Yeah.
Shalhoub and Tim Allen, because Tim Allen, you could tell that's like his modus operandi. He's like, is it something that I can do like perpetually? Go home at 5:00 every day? Yes, I'll do it. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I honestly I don't know if after the experience Tim Allen had, if he would do it if he couldn't come on as a producer though.
Mm.
I don't know if he would just
Yeah.
act on it after everything that happened with
Well-
Last Man Standing.
Last man standing.
was he a producer on the Santa Claus show?
Oh, I don't know, but did I ever tell if I? Oh, we can get into that another time. I'll have to tell you my Tim Allen being the reason Disney Plus exists theory at some point.
You did tell me that. I remember that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see if he was a producer on the Santa Clauses.
I don't know. He came back for the last one, didn't he?
Yeah, he was. in
He was on he came back for the TV series, and let's see.
I think any kind of steady TV show, he'll do it.
Yeah.
But I would love it if Sam Rockwell would come on. I'm still
Yes,
to this
Tim,
day.
Yes, Tim Allen was actually executive producer for it.
Yeah. So it makes sense because like he seems like a guy who likes to have a little bit of control of what he does, which is understandable.
Yeah, because they forced him to change.
Well,
some
and
stuff
he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing, man. That Last Man Standing was a freaking popular show.
Well, and they
Yeah.
forced him to do some stuff on that early on, and then he insisted on becoming executive producer in order to continue it. And so I that's why I was only saying I wonder if he'd come on to Galaxy Quest if he
Yeah.
wasn't a
He needs
producer.
more.
Yeah.
He needs more. He needs more control.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the next topic, which is the DC Universe Online Shock to the System trailer. I think I have a graphic for this. Do I have a graphic for this? Yes, I do.
One thing
This is
I
a new.
want to point out is that
Go for it.
I'm the only one who plays this game still, but
Yes.
you are the other two people I have played the most with in this game. Like you got me
Would you
playing it, and then Jeremy, I played with him for a while on there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I still have it downloaded, and I still will hop on it occasionally every now and then. But
Well, you need to do it, and I'll tell you why. Because they're doing a name reclaim. So if you have that cool name still, you better hop on and log in because I think coming up next month they're doing a name reclaim, and if you haven't used that name in so long, they're going to give it to someone else. Because
No, well, at least
Good
that's cool
names
for
are hard to
people
go
that are
by.
good to play it.
Well,
yeah,
that
I mean,
was-
Bodz,
that-
Jeremy, tell him your story.
I had the name Tim Drake in DC Universe Online and lost it when they
Yep.
did the merge.
Oh,
When they merged the PlayStation and computer servers.
man, Bodz is going to be like right there for Batman, aren't you, Bodz? You're going to be like
Since
day
I'm
one to
logged
the
in,
name
because-
reclaim.
So, since day one, you couldn't name yourself Batman. On day
No,
one,
you couldn't.
basically they made it so you couldn't name yourself any DC characters. But Tim Drake was, I guess, obscure enough. Like you could name yourself Robin, but I was like, I wonder if I could, because like I started playing the game on day one, and I started with the name Tim Drake, and I guess that had not been put into their filters yet.
But they do have it, so if the names are combined, like my guys, All-Star Batman, one name, and they're like, we didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, did All-Star Batman come after that? I can't remember. Did All-Star Batman come after because this game's old now.
Oh yeah, it came out way after.
Okay.
The new one came after the old one. You know that was the Frank Miller one. That was before that.
Okay.
But the new 52 All-Star Batman, that was obviously more recent.
Cool. Well, I'm going to show the trailer right quick so we can see what
actually
you won't be able to hear it. I can put it on the
My current test subjects tolerate so little pain. And where's the fun in that?
I don't know. What do you say, guys? You want to join back with me, my billionaire Batman?
Only if I can buy an apartment in Dakota City. If I can't buy an apartment there, I'm out.
I don't know if you can, but maybe eventually.
You know, Bodz, I've told you for years, the only thing I want in this game is to be able to explore Dakota City. That's the one.
I know,
city.
And now's the time. If y'all want to,
now's the time.
Explore Dakota City, and
I will show you what it is to be the master of pain.
And see, this guy was DCeased, right? This is.
It looked like DCeased.
Yeah, this is. Okay.
I haven't played any of the events raids yet. So.
Have they updated the graphics in this at all, Bodz? Because it looks, it looks a little bit different.
Yeah, they literally, they kind of slowly been going through all the characters and updating their looks. And the thing, you gotta think this game is what, 11 years old?
It's
12.
It's old. It started off on the PS3. Oh God.
Yeah.
So yeah, for a video game, that's pretty old.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have the kind of legs that you see on like what is it? You don't see the kind of legs that you see on like World of Warcraft per se, but I mean,
they updated the graphics a few years ago when they stopped supporting the PS3. When they stopped supporting the PS3, they got a graphics update.
Ah, okay. Because I know that Bodz made the jump over because we had talked about that, and I was like, well, shit, it's on Steam. Yeah, it's on Steam. So I was like, I could play it, but it's still the same. If it's still the same game I played on PS3, I don't know how much I'm going to enjoy it because it's like
maybe doing it during a snarkade.
I do think it would be a fun game to do a snarkade, especially if Jeremy can play it and like keep from pissing me off. I'm just kidding. If we could do a snarkade, it would work. This would be a game right up. And the thing is about the snarkades is that I kind of want them. I'd rather them be comic book game focused, and for a MMO, superhero game, that seems to be a perfect match. Yeah. So I think that would definitely be something. And then plus, Bodz gets to show off all his skins, and he would be
all my different
he gets
Batman looks and armories.
I get to show off my apartments. That's what I do in that game.
That's all. So you're like a real estate agent, and Bodz is an actual superhero.
I do. My hero that I've done on there for forever was because I wanted to do like a Robin type character, and it was around the time Supergirl. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe this was after or when. I don't know when this was in relation, but I really like the Supergirl when she became a Red Lantern story arc. And so when they introduced the Rage power set in there, I made Rage Robinus. And have Stephanie Brown as a Red Lantern.
Yep. And then I remember I bought you a bunch of like Robin gear because I'm rich, and then you just stopped playing.
Thanks, Bodz. I like to get on every couple of years, have Bodz spend money on me, and then stop playing.
And then leave.
Yeah.
You're like a what are they, gold digger?
Yeah. The last time I played long enough to go through all the Legion of Superhero stuff, and I was like, that's fun.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done.
I'm done. Yeah. Well, since you're a big Static Shock fan,
Yes, I do know that. I do know that he exists. That is true.
Yeah,
it's true. He exists.
Dude, the only reason I have anything Static Shock is because for a short time after Scott McDaniel left Nightwing, he went and did Richard Dragon, and then he jumped over to do Static Shock, and I think that was like the last. No, he did Superman, after that, and then I think he did Static Shock, and that is the only reason because I pretty much bought everything he did. So
they got some old Static Shock,
some old, not old. I'd say, yeah, I guess by now. God Almighty, I forget that all that stuff was back in the aughts that I started like. I mean, that was kind of the end of whenever Scott McDaniel was working for DC.
I'm not gonna lie to you. When y'all were talking about DCeased earlier, and you said it was from 4 years ago, that kind of blew my mind. I felt like I just bought that. So.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know until I started looking at the publishing dates, and I was like, "Wow, this is not new." Because I had seen because I go to the comic shop weekly. I went over and I was walking by, and I was like, "Oh, there's the last DCeased." It was the 8th book of the gods of the undead gods or whatever. And so I was like, "That's crazy that just ended. That must be like a pretty recent book." Then that we're gonna, and then I went back and started reading, and I was like, "Oh God, this is not new."
No.
So there must have been some gaps in between, like Dead Planet.
There was a year gap in between DCeased and then Dead Planet, and then I think there was a 2-year gap between that and when they started Death of the Gods or whatever it's called, War of the Gods. I can't remember.
War of the Undead Gods. Yeah, that's such a hard title to remember. But let's move on to the next topic, guys, and that is going to be the DC Vampires toys that Bodz was talking about. Bodz, you want to take it away here?
Yeah, so, obviously McFarlane is just churning out these toys. And so right now the big thing in comic books is DC versus Vampires, which Jeremy can attest to, but they are also making toys. So this week they released the Superman that looks like he is a vampire. The past 2 weeks, maybe 2 months, they've also released a Batman and also a Joker. So I noticed the Batman is just a repaint of the Hush figure, but it's still a good looking figure. They redid the different head and stuff like that.
Yeah, because he doesn't really have any battle damage. I saw like a 360 of him, and I was like, Bodz is right. He doesn't really look that much different.
Yeah,
and neither does the Joker, except they like paint his hands red.
Yeah, I know Joker. They've come out with so many Jokers lately because they did the 3 Jokers. So I don't really know which one this is from, but I'm sure he's probably just a repaint. Are you looking at the weird elbow too?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because when I was doing this, I don't really look at the toys that often, but whenever the Joker one especially took me by surprise when I saw this weird elbow. I was like, "What the hell is this?"
It's very wild.
Yeah, they'll make sure he has all kinds of possibility.
Yeah, I know. I was like, he's like triple jointed in the elbow, apparently.
You don't have 2 elbows in one arm?
Doesn't everybody?
Doesn't everybody? I'm human.
But I mean, they're good looking. They're good looking figures. It's just like I said, I don't really collect action figures anymore.
Well, the one with the Superman one is crazy to me because maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't remember him ever looking like that in the comic.
No, maybe
I don't know.
This is foreshadowing.
Is it a repaint of like I now that you say that, is it a repaint of the Blackest Night Superman? Because wasn't he kind of zombie looking in that?
No, but that does bring up a good point. They it was, I don't think it was McFarlane. It was either DC Direct or DC Icons. They did do some like the Blackest Nights figures, and they did some of the DCeased figures. But that, I don't think McFarlane had anything to do with this. So I'm not sure if this is a repaint.
It's not a repaint of that. That way they look nothing the same. I just looked up.
Okay, because that's Blackest Night is pretty old from what I understand.
Yeah.
I've been curious about it because I saw I'm kind of in the omnibus market more than you guys are because you guys are all digital. And I always see Blackest Night and everybody talks about how that is the thickest omnibus of like all time. Because
do they actually collect all the tie-ins and everything?
They have all the tie-ins and everything. They say it is a complete picture of the Blackest Night series. And I'm always like, I'm off a half a step off of buying it because I was like, well, it's Jeff Johns, and I think I'd never read much of Jeff Johns until No Age was like, oh God, you just got to read the 3 Jokers because it was great. And after that, I was like, oh yeah, he's right. And sorry, I had read before Flashpoint, which I did enjoy. I think 3 Jokers was better than Flashpoint, but Flashpoint was still good. So I was curious about reading JSA and going back and actually reading Aquaman because I know he did Aquaman back with the New 52.
That was
really good. The first story arc of that is really good. If you go back to read Jeff Johns' thing, the New 52 Aquaman, read that first story arc.
Yeah.
And then if you'd like, just imagine how much better it could be and then stop reading.
Well, I will go back and I will read it because I've seen it here and there. But I mean, as figures go, they look good. McFarlane is killing it. I just kind of wonder how long it is before we see some publishing comics come out of his, because I kind of think that the whole Batman versus, I don't think it was Batman. I don't think they even call it. Do they call it Batman versus Spawn? I thought it was just Batman Spawn.
Batman Spawn.
I can't remember. Like, by the way, that's a trash comic. If anybody's wondering, that's trash.
Not the original.
Not the original. Like War Devil was okay. War Devil was good, and only because Chuck Dixon had something to do with it. The other one was done by Frank Miller, which I find to be so like tragic, because the one that was drawn by Todd McFarlane, it was written by Frank Miller, and it was just not great. It was not great. Everybody, like, whenever you go back and you talk to people about like, oh, which one was better, War Devil, or I think it was called the Red Scare or some shit like that, they'll go, oh yeah, War Devil all the way.
Which was the one where he got the batarang in the face and had the laces?
That was the Red Scare, yeah. And it's just because Todd was drawing it, and most people were like, oh, that's the one they bought because I think the other one was drawn by he was the inker for Frank Miller on Batman. I got it right here. Let's see. It was Klaus Janson.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Klaus Janson. Yeah. He did the artwork for that book. And don't get me wrong. Some of the earliest comics I can remember buying was the Punisher and Captain America, like Blood and Glory, I think is what it was called. And that was done like solely by Klaus Janson. And I remember getting that thinking, oh man, it's such good artwork. So I think Klaus can do some really good artwork. The inking he did on the Dark Knight Returns and all that was great. There's some stuff though that I'm like, he's okay. But he did the artwork for War Devil, and it was like as a kid with like, I don't remember how much it cost, but with the cash that I had in my hand, it was either Todd McFarlane or Klaus Janson. And I was like, okay, Todd McFarlane. And so I didn't know that I'd pick the inferior book of the two.
You say something funny like that was a common like thing back in the day, is like you had cash as a kid and you could only buy one comic. I remember this is the dilemma I had. Should I buy this issue of Batman where he's having his back broken by Bane, or should I buy Jurassic Park, the official souvenir magazine? I'm buying the official souvenir magazine.
Oh, Bodz.
Regret that. I have since got that comic, so I have it.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
At the time as a kid when it was coming out,
but you always like it when you buy it yourself. I always liked it when if I have a comic that I bought and it was never owned like secondhand. When you're going through the back issues and you pull the stuff that they've either they bought somebody else's collection or it's been owned before, or it's just been sitting in that bin forever. I always like it when you get it right off the shelf and it's like, this one's mine.
Only mine.
Only mine. I know exactly where it's been and where it's going. That was my favorite part of working at the comic shop when I was in college. Was like, I would look through the books for like the best one, and then I'd pull that one and put it in my pull box, and then I would give everybody else the crap. I was like, sorry. It wasn't crap. I picked the most pristine copy, and that one was
I want
mine.
the best of the best.
I want the best of the best. Y'all, you peons can just get whatever the dregs are. But yeah. So anywho, I appreciate you guys coming on tonight and talking with me about all this stuff, and I appreciate No H coming on and then leaving early. That's kind of his MO, but I do appreciate him coming on to talk with us. I hope everybody
have like the Middle-Aged Mutants after hours, and it's gonna be like when No H is gone.
Hey, we have talked about this, but we've never done anything in stone here. And plus, do we really have to have an hour after hours? Because most of our episodes are like 2.5 hours long. I feel like if you got an after hours thing, it's because your show was only like an hour or 30 minutes or so. You know?
Yeah. No, I'm just saying that the show is like when Noach leaves, that's when it becomes.
Oh, okay. You know what? That is a fucking great idea, Bodz. We need to say that. I need to get a graphic now on here, an alert that goes, that's like after hours begin or something like that. I don't know what will. I do like the idea of this. It almost reminds me of TCS Nights.
Just nice.
It'd be interesting if the graphic changed for whatever it was. Like I know that'd be difficult to do if it's like, but instead of it being red.
No. I mean, I could do it. I could do it because
you like reverse the color. So it's black.
Yes.
On red on black instead of black on red.
That would be awesome. Now that you say that, it wouldn't be hard. To be honest, a lot of this stuff is pretty easy to.
And
once you design it,
cuss a lot.
That's when we cuss a lot. No, I actually kind of like that idea. Noach will be so jealous too. Like, oh, I'm not part of the after hours crew. We gotta think about that name, but I do like it. But I just like,
instead of alert down in the bottom right, it changes to after hours.
It needs to be like comic booky. Like, I don't know if it's like we go like Black Label or that kind of thing. Like Elseworld. I don't know, something like that.
We'll think of it. We'll
think of something. But I do appreciate everybody who subscribed. We've got 10 subscribers in the last 28 days. And I do appreciate you coming in, liking and subscribing these videos. We intend to make them as long as you guys will keep watching them. So again, we do appreciate it. And we'll see you guys down the trail in the next Middle-Aged Mutant show. Have a nice one.